God had it all planned out and that things just are the way they were and to never question anything. And so I was raised with this concept of blind faith from literally from the time I was born to only believe what my elders were telling me. Elders specifically meaning the men who ran the religion, and to not question any of it. But one of the things that I was always getting in trouble for is because I was always questioning. And I always wanted to know why, and I always wanted to know how. And I had my own ideas of what spirituality were for me. So, for example, I couldn't understand this belief my parents had that God had my life all planned out and that I had no choice in the direction of my life. I couldn't grasp where my own ability to make choices actually mattered in this lifetime because I was told my choices were inconsequential because God already had it all planned out. So I had no concept of being able to create my own reality, although there was a part of me that always questioned that. Another one of the things I remember saying to my mom when I was little was that I said, Mommy, I feel like this is Earth school. Earth is a school where our souls just come here to learn and then we leave. And I remember her saying, Well, that's just one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Where did you get that crazy idea from? And so I just knew to keep my ideas to myself because they were so different from what I was being raised with. And I was also always very spiritually inclined. I went to church because I wanted to. I wanted to learn about spirit. I wanted to learn about God. I wanted to learn about Jesus, who I now call Yeshua. I wanted to learn higher spiritual concepts, and they just couldn't teach them to me. And I also discovered I had a gift that they called what is the word I'm looking for? ESP. So I could actually see things that, like, if you showed me a piece of paper and I could tell you what was on the other side of the paper, that freaked people out. They thought I was possessed by some demon. And then after I left home and I got involved in spirituality, everybody told me it was New Age and that that was evil and that I needed to stay away from spiritual concepts and self help books and crystals, which I find funny because I got my crystals. Which of course we know is simply not true. All of that, those are just fear based beliefs created by religion to keep us from tapping in and tuning in directly to source. So, one of the things I discovered after I had my what I call my midlife reawakening, my midlife rebirth, my midlife holy shift, as you mentioned, is that what was missing from my life was my connection to spirit. And I discovered then, as I started communicating with my higher self, who now I'll explain to you about Victoria. At the time, I went by the name Margaret. That is my personality self name. It's the name my parents gave me. And at that time, I started to understand that what was missing from my life was my connection to spirit, that had been replaced by marriage and raising children. And so I started getting back in touch with myself, got involved with my spiritual community again that had saved my life literally in my early 20s, and started reconnecting again. And what I started to realize is that the religion of my childhood had actually blocked my connection to God, to source, to the divine. And I started to realize that is the case with most of our religious beliefs. Our religiosity is a better word for that, is that they are fear-based beliefs disguised as love. And I started really understanding how all of these beliefs in our religiosities actually block us from directly connecting to the divine that is within every single one of us, to the Holy Trinity, which is the Mother, the Father, and the Divine Child. So even our religiosities took the Divine Mother out of the Trinity and named it an unnamed face of the Spirit of God. That is the Divine Mother that exists in all things. And so part of my role is to also restore her to her place alongside the divine masculine, so that we begin to understand that we are all aspects of both the mother and the father and the child. We are all that. And that our religiosities have prevented us from really understanding and accessing our divine connection to the divinity that is within every single one of us, as streams of consciousness, of the divine consciousness having a human experience. And so for me, what I know is that my role on the planet is to teach people how to move out of fear-based beliefs and into love-based truths, and to really begin recognizing where everywhere in our lives fear is playing a role, because we've been living in a fear-based reality for thousands of years. My understanding is it got pretty rooted here approximately 11,000 years ago. It started about 12,500 years ago and really anchored in about 11,000 years ago. And that's what the story of the Garden of Eden is all about. It's when fear basically came in and started running the show on our planet. And we're attempting now to return back to the garden. And I call it Gaia's garden, the garden of love, the garden of the Divine Mother. And that is where we all come back and come home to the true essence of who we are. And as we recognize our fear-based beliefs, we can then start transmuting them with love-based truths. And all truths, the whole truth, is always based in love. So if there are any beliefs that are surrounding you that sound like, if there's an if attached to them, if there's a condition attached to them, they are based in fear. It's a really, really simple way of being able to recognize fear-based beliefs, because they do disguise them themselves really, really well. We see them all over our religiosities. If you love me, then you'll do this. If you love your family, for example, just the one word that's floating around in the world right now. If you love your family, you'll take the jab to the arm, that kind of thing. And so they're really easy to recognize if you know how to look for them. If there is a condition attached to the belief, it means that it's based in fear, because love is always 100% of the time, it is pure and it is unconditional. And how many of us were raised with the belief that God's love is unconditional, and then there's a whole big long list of conditions attached to it? Those are all fear-based beliefs. The truth is that love, the pure love of Source, has no conditions attached to it. It is pure love. It is purely given, and it is unconditional for every single being on the planet at all times. We just need to accept that within ourselves. And the issue is that we've placed so many conditions on ourselves that we only know how to love ourselves, and we only know how to love others in that same way. So as Yeshua, the Christed one, once said, love each other as I, the Creator, has loved you, and love each other as you love yourselves. The greatest issue on our planet is that we are loving each other the only way we know how, with the list of conditions we were told that God loves us, and the list of conditions we've placed on ourselves. So when we live our lives with those fear-based beliefs and all the conditions that we've placed around ourselves, and the conditions we believe God has placed upon us, that is the only way we know how to love others. So it's really, really important that we do the work to recognize every belief that we are holding within ourselves that has any kind of a condition attached to it, recognize that it's a fear-based belief, and begin overwriting it with love-based truth. The truth is always loving 100% of the time. And I know that's really difficult for a lot of people to understand when they look around at what's happening on the planet with those who are working on behalf of the dark contrast, if you will. I prefer not to use good versus evil, right, wrong, duality, reality. That's all of that, us versus them, is part of the old world that we are moving out of. The world that we are creating, this new earth we are creating, is 100% loving. My understanding is that when this world is finished creating, fear will not even exist on this planet. It will be something that will be a bygone, and humanity will look back and say, wow, I can't believe human beings ever hurt each other. I can't believe human beings ever believed that there was a lack or that we needed to take from someone else in order for us to get. I can't believe human beings ever had this crazy thing called competition. That's all old world. That is the world we're moving away from. That is the world that was created by the contrast to keep us in fear and control and divided against each other. That is what we're moving away from. And in order to move into this new reality, this new earth, this heaven on earth, this 5D love-based reality, pick a label that works for you. In order to move into that reality, we need to be willing to question everything we have ever believed about everything. Every belief we've ever held about who we think we are, every belief we've ever held about our religiosities and our religious beliefs, every belief we've ever held about our spiritual nature, every belief we've ever held about our history, every belief we've ever held about everything. We need to be willing to question all of it. We need to be willing to decipher it. We need to be willing to look at it and see if it's based in fear or if it is truly, genuinely, purely based in divine, absolute, unconditional love. Because if it isn't based in that, it is not true. It's that I'm being reminded of that term, that fear is what is the word? An acronym for false evidence appearing real. It really is that. It is not real. Fear is a false narrative that was created to keep us from our connection to the divine. Now, I use a different acronym for fear. I use face everything and rise, because when we face fear and we rise above it, it actually ceases to exist, because it cannot exist in the presence of love. Just as darkness cannot exist in the presence of light, there's no such thing as a dark switch. You walk into a room, you turn on the light, and the darkness is gone. When you walk into fear and you face it with pure love, fear cannot exist. It is powerless in our presence. We just need to find that within ourselves. And that's what it is to really tune in, to be in attunement. And that's really what the Christed one, what Yeshua, the one we call Jesus Christ, meant. That's what was really meant when they say that he atoned for our sins. It wasn't about atonement. It was about teaching us what attunement looks like. Even on the cross, he was teaching people to forgiveness. Forgive others for not knowing what they don't know and not knowing what they didn't know. That's what attunement looks like, to always be in perfect, absolute attunement with the Holy Mother and the Holy Father, the Holy Trinity, which is in every single one of us. The Holy Mother, the Holy Child, and the Holy Father are all of us embodied. Now, maybe not to the full extent that Yeshua was embodied as an example of what the human experience is capable of. Ultimately, we are all capable of what he was capable of, and that he was an example of what is possible for all of us when we live our lives from pure, absolute, divine love in all things. So ultimately, that's what I'm here to teach. I've been asked by Yeshua about 10 years ago to teach what he taught. Not what religion says he taught, but what he actually taught. And so he is my master teacher. He is the master teacher for planet Earth. And he teaches me what he really meant when he said what he said, and what he really meant when he traveled the earth, and what he really meant when he was communicating with the Divine Mother and the Divine Father as the Holy Trinity through him. Now, who is Victoria? So I was born, as I mentioned, as Margaret. That was the name my parents gave me. That was the name that was chosen for me when I incarnated at birth. And in 2012, actually in 2010, I began communicating with my higher self. Margaret began communicating with my higher self, who is Victoria. The higher self, my higher self, is Victoria, the Elohim of freedom. I am the Elohim of freedom embodied in this body at this time to help liberate humanity from the fear-based reality and create heaven on earth. Obviously, I'm not doing this by myself. There are hundreds of millions of us across the planet. There are starseeds, there are Elohim, there are angels, there are all kinds of angelic beings incarnated at this time to help liberate humanity from this enslavement matrix, fear-based reality that humanity and the planet have been living in for many thousands of years. And I am here now, along with all of my angelic realm, all of my brothers and sisters, to help create this new earth that is based entirely, solely, and wholly in divine love. That we get to the point that there isn't anything but that, where there is no war, there is no rumor of war, there is no desire to cause harm, there is no desire to take from another, there is no competition. There is only love, mutual support, and the love of spirit through every single one of us. That is what we are creating. And I know that's really difficult for a lot of people to imagine as you look around and all you see is all this suffering around you and all the harm that's being propagated on the bodies of humanity and all life on earth, the planet herself. Know that all of that is going away. Because the truth is that love always wins and light always wins. And we are moving on to the light side of the galaxy where this cannot, the agenda that the dark side, the dark contrast is attempting to propagate on humanity will not succeed. They can try as hard as they want. They can tell us what they want us to vision for them. It won't work. There are too many of us that know what's really going on in the world. And that number is growing exponentially every single day. Humanity is setting itself free. Every single person on the planet is the one they've been waiting for. And it's time for all of us to lock arms. It's different than the old saying of, the army of light. Well, that's different. In this battle, there are no weapons other than the sword of truth and the armor of love. And we all lock arms, right? Arm in arm. That's what we're doing all across the planet. No weapons of any kind need to be lifted. What needs to be lifted are our hearts up into the heavens. We need to be singing. We need to be dancing. We need to be rejoicing. We need to be loving. The more we focus on the world we want to create, the faster that world will be created, because our vision creates reality. Every choice we make creates reality. Every thought we have creates reality. Every vision we have creates reality. This is why it's so important to stop focusing on what they want us to focus on and focus on the truth that we get to create a new world. We're creating it right now from the ground up. And here's the wonderful thing, the extraordinary thing. We wouldn't even be able to imagine it if it didn't already exist. In the imaginal realm, in the field of creation, the new earth we want to create already exists. It's simply up to us to make it physically manifest. And we do that through our words, through our choices, through our thoughts, through our conversations, and through our visions. This is where our power lies. This is where we are created in the image of God. We are all creators. We are all divine love. We are all Mother, Father, Creator working through every single one of us. We are all the divine intervention we seek. We are all that. We're all aspects of the great I am, surging through every single one of us. The saying, with God, all things are possible, and this is true. God flows through every single one of us. That is the divine love that is in every one of us. Divine love through us makes all things possible. It's us. Too many people are waiting around for a leader. They're waiting for a president or a prophet or a minister or Jesus to set us free from this reality we've been living in. The truth is, it is in every one of us. Every single one of us has been touched with the Christ consciousness. The second coming of Christ is in every one of us. And it's time for each of us to stand up and recognize that within ourselves. None of us are separate from Source, and none of us are separate from each other. We are all the mother, the father, and the child embodied as all of us. Now, we are obviously not all God. I am not God, and neither are you, but we are all aspects of all that. And the divine through us creates the world we envision. One of my frustrations is how much time so many of you are putting on what's wrong with the world. I see it on the Telegram channels. I see it on the YouTube channels. I see it on the Facebook. All the focus on this is what the dark side has planned. Don't for a moment, for not one single moment, put any energy into that. Simply by repeating those stories and sitting around and complaining about them, you are energizing them. By spewing any hate at all to those who are propagating the dark side, you are actually feeding it. It feeds on anger. It feeds on fear. It feeds on your conversations. So yes, recognize it. don't for one moment energize it, because your energizing it is part of what's creating it into existence. So you can look at it and say, I see what the dark side has planned here, and this will not exist in my reality. You get to choose whether that is your reality or not. And if enough of us say, I see what you have planned here, and in my reality, this does not exist, it will not exist. Now, this is different than sticking your head in the sand and pretending, or putting the blinders on your eyes and being ignorant of what the dark side has planned. It's not that. It is important to recognize what they have planned, because our job is to dismantle it. Our job is to diffuse it. Our job is to dispel it. Our job is to transmute it. So to understand what they have planned is important. Otherwise, that puts you in a place of ignorance like everyone else out there who has no idea what's going on the planet. So it's important to know about it. However, not energizing it, not complaining about it, not putting any ounce of a vision into it whatsoever. You can simply say that might be what your plans are, but I reject it and substitute it with my own reality. I reject that reality and substitute my own. In my reality, we are moving into heaven on earth. In my reality, we're moving into 5D, unconditional love, pure loving reality, where there is no competition and there is no suffering. There is nothing but freedom of the spirit and freedom of the human vessel to create miracles for themselves and for each other. That's what is possible for us when we move out of fear and understand what we are truly capable as divine love embodied in each one of us. This is an avatar. This is just a physical vessel that divine love works with and moves through. And we can reject everything else. The more of us who choose to reject that reality and substitute our own, the faster we will create the reality we seek. Now, if you're wondering about Victoria, how that happened, that is a question people ask. So in 2011, my personality self, who was then Margaret, was connected with her higher self, who is me, Victoria. And over the years, I began to embody into this body and take over the personality self. As I was teaching her how to remedy her own suffering, remedy the stories from her past, remedy the childhood traumas, remedy the fear-based beliefs. So over the years, Margaret started teaching my Victoria's messages back in 2011. And I have since fully embodied in this body as Victoria Elohim of Freedom. Margaret has a spot on the bus, a little special spot in my heart for my children. And I'm now fully embodied in form. And I'm here wholly and solely on behalf of the freedom of humanity, specifically the spiritual freedom of humanity. And the reason for that is that all freedoms are ultimately spiritual freedoms. And that's something I teach about as well, that whatever the freedom is that you desire, whether it is physical freedom, emotional freedom, mental freedom, financial freedom, all freedoms are ultimately spiritual freedoms, because we are all spirit having a human experience. And once we understand that everything is a spiritual experience, that is when you can begin to see how easy it is to transmute and transform the darkness into light, and transmute and transform all fear into love. Because there really is nothing other than love and light. That fear is merely I don't want to say lack of, because I don't believe in lack, but it is the lowest vibration of love. Fear is the belief that there is a lack of love, but there really is no such thing as a lack of love. It is all things. It is everywhere present. It is all that is. It is what all things are made of. It's impossible to disconnect ourselves from it, because it is everywhere present. It flows through our veins. It flows in the sand and the grass beneath our feet. It flows through the air. It's what we're made of. It's the glue that binds all things together. We only think we're separate from love because we've been taught that we are, and the truth is that's impossible to be separate from it. And darkness is merely the absence of light. And the darkness exists for a purpose. The reason the darkness we're experiencing exists is so that we can find our own light within it. We wouldn't be able to see our light if the contrast didn't exist. So what's happening on the planet right now is the darkness is being exposed. We're seeing it real and present right here in our moment so that we wake up. It exists specifically so that we can wake up to our light. So when people ask, why is it that God is allowing all this darkness to happen? It's because the darkness is allowed to exist so that we can find the light. That is ultimately what we came here to experience as souls. We chose to experience the contrast. We wanted to see if we could find our light in the darkness, and we wanted to see if we could find our love within the presence of fear. And as we do, as each one of us do, the earth will be forever changed, because when enough of us find our light and enough of us find our love, the fear and the darkness will be transmuted into the nothingness from whence it came, because they only exist as a mechanism for our own soul's learning. And once we learn through that, this planet becomes a place of peace. I was shown years ago that this planet is a learning planet until we as a collective of souls determine for it to be a place of peace. That is what we are creating. That is what New Earth, Heaven on Earth, 5D, love-based reality, again, whatever term you choose, is all about turning this planet into a planet of peace, of heaven on earth, of peace on earth, as a respite for the souls of humanity and a respite for others across the galaxy who will be coming here on vacation. I know that's really difficult to imagine right now because of what we see attempting to play out in this world. Remember, it's not playing out, it's just attempting to. And the resonance that we hold within ourselves will determine how long it takes to become New Earth. That is a question people ask me all the time. How long is this going to take? And the answer is, it's up to you. It's up to every single one of us how long it takes. The longer we hold any aspect of our existence in resentment, the longer it takes for heaven on earth to manifest. The longer it takes for us to hold any aspect of ourselves and any aspect of our individual and collective story in resentment, the longer it will take for heaven on earth to manifest. Ultimately, all of this is about each and every one of us doing the work to find the fear-based beliefs within ourselves, do the shadow work of recognizing any darkness that exists within ourselves, and do the work to find pure, divine, absolute love within ourselves in all things. When we do, that is when we get to experience heaven on earth, because heaven on earth is within ourselves. And when enough of us create it within ourselves, it will physically manifest for the whole. That, for those of you who have been asking how we create heaven on earth, is how we do it. No one is going to bring it to us. It's inside every single one of us to create it within ourselves. That is what Yeshua meant when he said that heaven is at hand. It's right here. It's in our hands. It's within every single one of us. We just have to get over ourselves. We have to get over our fear. We have to get over our doubt. We have to get over our dissension. We have to get over our blame. We have to get over resentment. We have to get over every single one of those. All of those are based, their beliefs that are based in fear. When we get over ourselves and come home to the truth that we are all divine love having a human experience, and we remember that. I use the word remember a little bit differently. It means to remember that. Remember that we were all born as divine love embodied. And as we move through life, we dismember aspects of ourselves we believe to be unworthy and not lovable. And this is about remembering every aspect of ourselves, bringing all those broken aspects into the whole of who we are, love up everything that we are, no longer holding any aspect of our lives or ourselves or anyone who's been present in our lives in any way, shape, or form in resentment at all to any of it. And that is possible when you do the inner work And you do the work that requires bringing up all of those stories and thoughts and beliefs you might have shoved down and pretended didn't exist. You got to be willing to bring them up. That's the hard part. That is part of questioning everything you've ever believed. Everything you've ever believed about yourself, your belief systems, what we've been taught, our histories. Everything needs to be brought up for questioning. Everything needs to be brought up. You take it out and you lay it across the table, the buffet of beliefs, and let's start taking a look at them. When you do, you'll begin to recognize which ones were based in fear, which ones were manipulations of the human spirit, which ones were created from connecting you to the divinity that's within yourself and the divine of all that is, the one source, creator, creatress that is all things. Our religiosities were set themselves up as middlemen, and they're not necessary. Now, this isn't to say that your religion is bad or wrong. I'm just, because you are where you are, because your soul has you where you are. If your soul wanted you someplace else, you would be someplace else. It's that simple. Your soul put you into that family that you were born into. Your soul has you right now experiencing what it is you're experiencing because there's something you need to learn there. And your soul is desiring for you to rise above it into pure absolute love, where all things become possible. Every desire you have in your heart already exists. It's simply a matter of manifesting it through you. And trusting the divine love that is all things, and the one that created it all and holds it all together. When you're in that place of pure absolute trust and pure absolute knowing, your life becomes a walking miracle. And there isn't anything you can't do, because God through you makes all things possible. Now I'm feeling that there's a message that wants to come through me. I'm looking to see, Joan, how much time do I have? About 30 minutes. I'm looking at the little timer at the top.
Till about 1:55.
Okay. Till about 1:55. I probably should look at my clock and see what time it is. Okay, so I have about 20 minutes. Okay, so that's enough time for me to bring in a little message for all of you. Okay, so let's close our eyes and take a nice deep breath. And get anchored into that heart space, that loving heart center that exists within every single one of us. This is a heart-based reality we are creating. And so it is time, if you have not yet, to add the word heart into everything we do. Mind, body, heart, and spirit. In all things. And as we activate the heart, the consciousness of the heart in all things, that feeds into the reality we are creating. We are activating the divine heart within all of us. Invoking now the divine Father, the divine Mother, the divine child into the heart of each of us, now present on this show and in the future for all of you who are watching. Calling forward the Holy Father, the Holy Mother, the Holy Trinity, the Holy Child that is all of us, the Christed Child, into every person's heart, knowing that each one of us is an embodiment of that Trinity. Asking now if there's a message that wants to move through me on behalf of all of humanity from this Holy Trinity to each of you. Is one voice through me. Calling forward the divine truths of the Father, the wisdom and healing of the Mother, and the lightheartedness, the diamond light of the Christed child. Asking for the message that wants to move through me now to each one of you. We want you to know, dear sweet child, that you have never been separate from us, that you have never been anything other than pure, absolute love. We see you now as the pure child that you are, the human child, the human creation is to us like that of a small child, a young child who is just learning to walk, just learning to speak, just learning to love, just learning how to play nicely on the playground with the other children. We see through each of you your infinite possibilities. We look at you the way any parent looks at their small child and sees, oh, what pure love you are, what you are purely capable of. We see what you can do when you finally grow up, and yet don't be in such a hurry to grow up, because the heart of a child is that pure innocence, that lightheartedness, the laughter, the joy. That is what was meant for each one of you. Life was never meant to be hard. We were never meant to have hard work. You were never meant to suffer. It was never our will for any of you to suffer. That was a misbelief created by those who wish to hold you in fear. It has always been our will for you to experience joy and nothing but that. The suffering humanity is experiencing is because of the choices I've allowed you to make, we've allowed you to make. Every choice you make creates your reality. And you wanted to learn through the contrast, and therefore that is why you are learning through the contrast. The reason you're experiencing suffering is because of the choices you have made that lead to that suffering. We say to you now, make better choices. We say to you now that every choice must be made in conscious choice, no longer allowing your choices to be made by anyone around you, no longer allowing your choices to be made by default of something someone told you, no longer allowing your choices to be made in the default of fear because that's what you've always known. Now comes the time of conscious choice. And in conscious choice, that is where you will find us everywhere present. That is where you will create the reality you desire to create. That is where you will find us speaking to you about what's next and what's best. It is time now to get out of your minds and be in your hearts. Yes, you heard that. It is time to get out of your mind and be in your heart. Everything you do from this moment forward must stem from the love in your heart the place where you connect to absolute, pure, unconditional, relentless love out of your mind and into your heart. Far too many of you are trying to overthink all of this. There is no thinking. There is only loving. There is only asking, how can I see this through the eyes of love? How can I choose this through the eyes of love? How can I do this through the eyes of love? And then you'll begin to see every experience in your lives the way we, the Holy Trinity, see all things. There is no judgment in any of it. There is only all of you experiencing what it is to experience your reality. And now as you wake up to recognize how fear has played a role in your reality, you begin to create what so many of you have desired for so long. Like a child that's waiting for Christmas for those favorite toys, you've been waiting for heaven on earth. And we say to you now that it is coming. It is coming because it is the desire of your heart. And each of you are stepping up and stepping into the roles that are necessary to make that happen. That heart light is being activated within every single one of you. And once that light is awakened in you, it cannot be shut down. It is the light-heartedness of the Christed child through you. It is the infinite love and healing of the Divine Mother through you. It is the guidance and the direction of the Divine Father through you. It is always there, always present within every single one of you. You need to only let go of your mental concepts of how you believe things need to be and move into your heart space and trust. Trust in yourselves, trust in each other, and trust in divine timing, and trust in the divine love that creates all things, that is all things, that knows all things. Trust in that. And the reality you seek to create will manifest in an instant. Because when you are all living in that, the reality that is attempting to play out in your world cannot exist. Because it cannot exist in your presence. You are all the ones you've been waiting for. You are all me, the divinity, working through each of you. You ask for divine intervention, and that is you. It is time now to stop saying what's in it for me, and let your words always speak what is in it for we. The oneness of humanity, the oneness in love, the oneness in divine spirit, the one creator through each of you. None of you have ever been separate from us, from divine, except that your beliefs have told you so. It is time now to let go of all of those beliefs that have any of you in division and separation, understanding that all of those were created in fear. Because those who work in behalf of the dark are terrified of you remembering who you are. And they are terrified only because they have forgotten their own divinity. They have forgotten that they too are all aspects of divine love embodied as them. And someday they will also find their way home to me, just as you have now. That is all for now, our dear sweet children. Remember to be like a child in all things, in the awe and the wonder and the lightheartedness in all things. And in that you will set yourselves free. In that your spirit will be free to play, and you will feel the joy that you are all meant to experience. That is my will. and my will be done on heaven as it is on earth. It is so, and so it is, and so it shall always be, and it is so. Well, that was a message for all of you today from Source, from the Holy Trinity. So for those of you who have had issues with the Holy Trinity and wondering what it is, that my understanding from what I've been told is that Yeshua was the greatest example of what the Trinity looks like in human form. We all have that ability within ourselves, and that the Creator Creatress wanted to show each of us what was capable, which is why it chose to step into the human form of Yeshua, the one we know as Jesus Christ, so that we could all see what we are capable of. And he is the greatest example of that, of how our lives can look when we go through life engaging in nothing other than pure love. When we love ourselves the way Source Creator loves us, when we love each other that way, that is how we create the reality we all desire to seek, and that is how we set ourselves free. There isn't anything other than that. And I have a couple of minutes. Joan, do you have any questions for me before we finish up? No, you have yourself muted. Okay, I can
now
hear
you can.
you in the other room.
I'm unmuted now. Okay, I'm going to turn the sound and whisper. Okay, Victoria, why don't you tell us a little bit about like this changing of your name, you know, like not changing, but this transformation of your name into the Elohim of freedom that's actually just happened the last few weeks. Like that you fully embraced it.
Yes. So as I was saying earlier, I discovered, my personality self discovered in 2010 that her higher self was Victoria Elohim of Freedom. So in 2012, I started saying that I wanted to embody. What I was explaining to the personality self is that I need to have boots on the ground. The reason there are many of us who are from the angelic realm, ascended masters, benevolent ETs that are here right now in physical form is because we needed to have boots on the ground. There's a lot of things we can do in the spiritual realm. There are things that we also need to do physically here. And so we have chosen to embody in human form. It's kind of like, it's like wearing an avatar. It's like, you know, we're angels in disguise. And so what I was explaining to my personality self back in 2012 is that I wanted to fully embody. Now my personality self was very resistant because I knew that meant letting go of a lot of the things in my life. At the time, that also meant leaving my human partner I call my husband. And then in 2018, it made very clear that I needed to fully embody. And so I fully embodied on September 6th, 2018. And I went to the man I was married to and I said, things are going to be very different now. There are things I'm not going to put up with. I'm not going to tolerate living with an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic. Lovely, lovely, lovely human being. He's still one of my very dearest friends, and I will always have a place in my heart for him. There were things I was simply no longer willing to tolerate and that I needed to set myself free from in order for me to be all that I'm here to be. And I was in an environment where I was keeping myself small and living in this three-dimensional environment he had created for me to live in. I needed to set myself free from that. So I have since become divorced. That divorce was final a few months ago. And I came to the realization a couple of months ago that I needed to tell the world who I am, that the world is finally ready to know who I am. I am Victoria Elohim of Freedom embodied in this body. There is only one Victoria Elohim of Freedom. If you Google her, you will probably find my website, but you'll also find a couple of other places where people are channeling the Victoria Elohim of Freedom, and you'll find out more about who I am as one of the 7 teams of Elohim. one of the original creators of Planet. I am guardian of freedom of choice, which is why I speak so much about the importance of conscious choice. I was shown a couple of months ago, about a year ago, that conscious choice is now going to be the new prime directive, because those who work on behalf of the dark side have figured out a loophole where they created manipulated choice, unconscious choice. And so now we're moving into a place where humanity is moving into conscious choice. So every choice we make has to be conscious. So I did come out of the spiritual closet 100%, started telling people about my walk-in experience, how I embodied, why I've embodied, why I'm here. It took me that long to do that because my personality self was afraid. There was that one last final fear. There was a big hump I needed to get over, because there are a lot of us, and I know there are some of you watching, who are still hiding out in the spiritual closet. And I know what that feels like. And I want you to know, for most of you, it is safe to come out of the spiritual closet. I do know there are some angelic beings here who have decided it's not time yet for them to come out. For me, it felt like it was time for me to come out of the closet and really start speaking to humanity about who they really are and what they're really capable of, and how we move into this love-based, completely free experience that we're moving into. So, Joan, does that answer your question?
Yes, that completely answered my question, love. We have about 2 minutes. So, what do you do with people? How can they find you, and how can you help them? Like, what do you do?
You can find me at victoriareynolds.com. I made that as easy as possible for people. What I help with, I have several things. I have several classes on my website that you can take. The Transcendence Class is specifically for what I call spiritual newbies. So if you are newly awakened and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's next, the Transcendence Process class will help you with recognizing the fear-based beliefs and transcending the fear-based reality. That's the process I gave to my personality self when she first started having the spiritual awakening. I first started having spiritual awakening after the 2008 recession. It's the process that I use to help other people find and recognize and work through their shadows and fear-based beliefs. I have a free book on my website right now. It is Rise Up. It's a simplified guide to what's happening on the planet right now. So if you're brand new waking up, you will love that book. Just one little quick clarification. There is a bug with my website right now. So if you go to my website and try to download the free book, it probably won't work. So just send me an email that says, hey, it didn't work. Can I get my free book? And I will email it to you. There's a little glitch that my team is working on right now.
It's going to be all fixed soon. She's
It is going to be all
my
fixed.
designer
It's
too.
fantastic. Joan hooked me up with somebody that's going to take my website to a whole another level. There's actually going to be a membership site there as well for people who choose to be part of the private membership. I do personal sessions.
Wow.
So if you have issues you want to work through, I do what I call issue resolution. And I have several other types of sessions there. If you look at the sessions page, it's like, if you go to shop and look at the very bottom, you'll see spiritual sessions. You'll see the kind of sessions that I do. I do one-on-one as well as classroom work. I have something called 6D Money Tree. That's about growing prosperity in the 6th dimension. That's actually where, as I said, this new earth that's created already exists. That is where things already exist. It's just a matter of learning how to physically create them so you can learn how to work the 6th dimension as well. And I think that's it. And then my YouTube channel is on Fearless and Free TV on YouTube. I do a lot of spiritual teaching there. I have something called Spirit Lift Sunday, and I interview really, really interesting guests. So you can find me there as well.
Amazing, Victoria. It is just wonderful. I'm standing here in the corner so we don't echo out. I just want everyone to know that working with Victoria, having Victoria, listening to her, she's always wise. She seems to have a direct connection to source, to the teachings of Jesus, to inner workings, and always a surprise to hear like the philosophy that comes through you and the wisdom, love. So I'm so glad you joined us. I'm so glad to know the Elohim of freedom.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
We will see you next time. All right. Okay, I can turn the sound up now. Let's see. I'm not echoing. She was wonderful. Something I didn't tell you about Victoria is that she had told me that not that she told me, my guides told me that she really was one who interprets the teachings of Jesus. And she does it effortlessly. It's quite phenomenal. Well, you did a great job, Victoria. So thank you. And now I know that we do have, I think we have Leanne coming up. Let's see where she is. So up we have Omar. I'm in the void.
Omar, he's the greatest guy in history. That was epic from Victoria. Thank you very much. Just totally amazing. And what sacred knowledge came through her. That was really amazing. That's divine feminine. And we've created like this beautiful energy today from all our speakers. I'm just so impressed and just taken back by all this wisdom and all this information. And, you know, it's amazing. So thank you, Dr. Joan, for bringing Victoria Reynolds on.
We have the Angel Brigade in full regalia today. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, we're spreading the wisdom. So, right. So this is great. I know that I have another guest I'll be introducing, but not for a few more minutes.
We have Michelle Falcone that is coming up next.
I don't see her.
I'm not seeing her either. So maybe can you shoot her a message and maybe I'll bring.
I'm about to get her, and no, I'm going to introduce her for all of you, but let me go make sure we got her.
So guys, while we are doing that, let's just quickly go through our schedule as to what we have coming up here for the rest of the day. So I will toss my like that, and let's see if we can get back here to add it. There we go. I'll shut my cam for a minute so you guys can see. We have a wonderful rest of the days. Looking, we are on day 7. So right here, so we have Michelle Falcone coming up. And then after Michelle Falcone, we have Dr. Rita Louise coming up. That's going to be a wonderful, wonderful upload. And then after that, going to have a beautiful conversation with Ford about music. And then after that, we have Claudia Thompson. I'm really looking forward to this, guys. She is an astrologer, and she's going to be doing a astrological reading on me. I sent her the information about a week ago, so really looking forward to this conversation. Had a great conversation with her last week, and we really resonated, so I'm looking forward to that. And then after that, our buddy Sheila Seppi from the Wish Alliance is going to be on. She's going to give us a upload, so totally looking for that. And you guys know that Sheila is a walk-in, so she's going to be discussing her walk-in experience, just as we did the other night with Nicole Richmond and our friends. And tomorrow looks really good as well. It's March the 19th, and we are going to open. This has actually been reversed. We're going to open with Greg Bornstein. After that, we will have Rachel Otto, and then Yasmin Yashi, and then, of course, a stretch with our beautiful Leanne Curtis. After that, we have Mark Fiorentino, and then we have a pre-recorded interview that we're going to do for you guys, which is with April and Jay Matta. Our buddy Kathy Mason did that one, so looking forward to seeing that. And then after that, we have Dean Lacrosse. He is an Aboriginal elder who's going to come on and give us a upload on Ulu Love. And then after that, we have an inspirational talk coming by Ray Davis. And then after that, we have our beautiful Constance Victoria Briggs, who's going to be talking about the moon. And then after that, we have Jerome Calvar, who's going to talk about the present time alignment. And then again, a stretch with our beautiful Leanne Curtis. And then after that, we're going to go to our Aussie friends. We're going to have Barry Eaton come on in the evening. And then we will close the evening off with Phil Gruber. Really looking forward to Phil Gruber. That's going to be a epic download. What is going on here? Am I... Start camp. There I am. I thought there was something wrong there. And I will bring Dr. Joan on because looks like Michelle Falcone is in the house, guys. Let's see some love. And thank you very much to everyone who has given, donated and super chats and all of that stuff. We totally appreciate it. It helps us in a great deal to continue to bring you conscious-based content and such as this that we are doing here at Humanity Unplugged. So with that being said, Dr. Joan, I will remove myself and you can bring Michelle on anytime you like.
I will bring her on in a minute. I have to say, this is the first conference I've ever done that runs ahead of schedule. All right. We are, and because we're running ahead of schedule, we're also learning to go with the flow and to not be attached to the way anything is. So our upcoming guest is actually ready. Her name, I want to tell you a bit about her. Her name is Michelle Balcom. She is a crystal skull wisdom channeler and the creator of the crystal frequency attunement method of healing. She's a gifted intuitive, a teacher, energy worker, and psychic medium. Michelle's heart-centered approach to working with clients also includes being a CMFW and Access Bars facilitator through Access Consciousness, and she's a Reiki master, a board-certified hypnotherapist, and trained in various other additional healing modalities and group facilitation methods, including crystal healing, intuition, NLP, and heart-centered communication. She's very talented. She's the caretaker for 23, get that, 23 and counting crystal skulls, including Mana, a 44-pound quartz crystal skull, which she also uses in her healings, offerings, and readings. She combines her talents and tools to create a roadmap to self-realization for her clients. She believes that all people have their own healing abilities, and she creates space for people. So I'm going to bring her on, and she can tell you a little bit more about her. Let's see something. There we go. Wonderful. Michelle.
Hi, Joan. How are you?
I'm sorry we took you by surprise. We are early. We are flying.
That's good. That's good. It's all okay. It's good. I was here and, it worked out. Thank you so much for having me on. I so appreciate it. I really loved working with you last time we worked together. And this event is amazing. I'm so grateful to all the people who have participated and all the hard work that went into putting it on. So thank you so much.
The speakers are extraordinary. We have to thank Omar and Rob and their guides for this concept of Humanity Unplugged. Obviously, they were filled with a vision and inspiration, and we're living it right now. But yeah. I'm happy to bring you out to people. I think our audience will love you. I look forward to hearing your presentation. And feel free do you have a presentation for us, right?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, last time I talked with you, Joan, I had read a crystal skull channeling. And at the end of that channeling, they said they would talk about personal responsibility another time. And so I am going to present that channeling that I did. I have some crystal skulls here. Here's one of my favorites. I have some others in the background. And then Mana is right here with me also. You can say hello to her. Whoop, this way. So she's my 44-pound crystal skull. I just wanted to talk a little bit about crystal skulls in general. People have thought for a long time, and they've been presented as something to be afraid of. They're really sacred objects, and this is a sacred object that transcends many different cultures and time periods. If you look back into the Mayan culture, into Tibetan culture, there are a lot of crystal skulls. They're pretty common now. I think a lot of people have seen them. The Mitchell Hedges skull is pretty common. Max is another one that kind of tours around. Mana is my own, and she goes around and she does healing work. So they have some very important messages. They have a lot of healing abilities also. And I just wanted to read one of the messages that they gave to me, and they're pretty profound. So I want to say this is the day of the full moon also here. So this message carries particular importance and will be combined with the energy of the full moon for releasing and bringing in the things that you would like to manifest. So I suggest as you listen to this, you just focus on your heart center, have an open heart, and there's energy that goes far beyond the words that they give. So if you listen again and again, you'll hear and understand more and more. So I would like to call in the energy of all the crystal skulls to give us messages and love. I want to give them a lot of gratitude for being present with us today, connecting us all through our hearts and allowing us to have an open mind to hear their messages and to take them to heart. So this channeling was done January 24th of 2021. As many of us have forgotten or have long forgotten or momentarily forgotten, as it matters not the length of time or frequency of the forgetfulness, we are one consciousness. The burden does not belong to one, but to all beings and all parts of one being. To lay responsibility on one or on one part to release and forgive is to yet cause more pain. We do not say that as blame, but rather as learning. When all parts and all beings see their part in the pain and forgive self, other, all-encompassing of all parts and beings, only then will there be true harmony and attunement. Healing is meant for all. Both healer and healed are one, so both must forgive and release for love to become part of the whole of what is being welcomed in. To be successful to the degree we wish success to be attained, revisit the star family, take off all masks of all parts represented by all beings present. Speak the truth of the matter of all beings present, for in that all parts will know and understand consciously that they are not alone. Reveal the burden that is carried with all, so that all may lift not only their own, but each other's, for we are all part of one and all parts of one. There is no blame, only shared responsibility. As you learn the way of one, all parts of all beings of the one shall come into harmony. Remember, this is all words in action in all thoughts, as we are only ever speaking to the one which we are. We wish you and wished you to know yourself as joy and love, as you so decree as different. Embrace and accept the differences among you. Be free of suffering and pain. Rejoice, for all is love, and all are love, and all are and is worthy of love. Aho. So this came to me as something that I wanted to share with all of you today because of all the crazy things that are going on in the world and this beautiful get together of healers that's been created here for all of us, which we're so grateful for, is the perfect opportunity to come together in joy and peace and see that it's important to stop blaming each other for things. There are not two sides. It seems like there are two sides, but both sides are striving for the same thing. It's like going someplace and you're going to the same destination and you each take a different road to get there. So some of us have chosen to learn through joy. Others of us have chosen to learn through pain. It doesn't make one or the other better or good or bad. It's simply a different experience. And at any point in time, you can choose the experience that you have. Understand that the people that are in power are playing a particular part so that consciousness can be made aware of what it's focusing its attention on. That's another important piece as well, where we focus our attention. So I just had a conversation with a friend about that yesterday, as a matter of fact. There are a lot of things that we could focus our attention on right now. And when we start focusing our attention on this politician versus that politician, or this world event versus that world event, or this choice versus that choice, we invest our energy into those thoughts. So it's very important that we're clear on where we would like to invest our energy. And that's what ends up manifesting in our reality. So when you think about it in terms of, we'll equate energy to money. And if energy was money and your thoughts were an investment of your money, then you would have maybe have a little bit of a different view toward what it is that you put your attention on. I hear a lot of conversations between a lot of people, and I'm not saying conversing is a bad thing. It's just interesting to me to see what energy is generated through conversation. And I know the skulls have been asking for us to be very mindful of where we place our energy, because that's what we are growing. That's the plant that we're watering. So there's a difference between denial and focusing your attention. So you can acknowledge that there's something going on, but speak words of positivity about a solution instead of focusing on the negative that's going on. You focus on the negative that's going on, it's growing negative energy. It's not to deny that it's happening. It's to focus on a solution instead, to focus on the positive things, to focus on positive action. So please be aware of that in conversation. And in doing that, then we can stop blaming each other for things. As we're all one, everything outside of us is a representation of what is inside, in here. So a lot of, I'm trying not to say things that are too controversial, but I'm just going to go ahead and say what I'm being given to say. A lot of us are really unhappy with the way that our governments have chosen to manage certain things and the restrictions that have been put on us. So when you look inside of yourself and you internalize that, because everything that's in here manifests out here, where are we in our own authority limiting ourselves? Where are we putting limitations on ourselves and our own authority? Where are we not recognizing that we are limitless beings that have the ability to create what we want to create? And it doesn't have to be that you go out and start this huge movement, which maybe it is for some people. But for some people, and most people, it begins with simply directing your thoughts in a positive direction. Direct your thoughts with love. And also what's important right now is clearing cords. I know some people talk about that as cord cutting, which seems a little bit harsh to me. And that's not fully what that is. That's not truly accurate, because there are cords of love that connect all of us, that are divine cords of love. It doesn't mean you have to love the person in a human way. It just means that we're all part of creation energy. And so there's a bond of love between each of us that gets cluttered up with other cords of other things. And it's important to take time to clear the clutter. You can clear the cords. All you have to do is close your eyes, visualize the person. You can also have cords of love with places, events. Visualize what it is that you would like to clarify, that you would like to come back into balance with, and imagine that all the cords that are not love are being cleared, that they're just dissipating, and that those connections that are not love are just released. And as you continue to do that practice, you'll find that you have improved relationships. And sometimes improved relationships mean that you're simply neutral with someone. It doesn't mean that you have to be falling all over yourself, happy to see them. It can sometimes mean that you just release the negative charge that's there. And this is something that's so needed right now. We need to do these things. If we want this world to come back into balance, if we want to create harmony, it's not going to be found by meeting negativity with negativity. That just balances the scale more toward negativity. So we want to find a balanced place, and it's important to take personal responsibility for our words and our behavior. And our thoughts, so much of our thoughts are very, very valuable, more valuable than money, because they create things. Be careful where your thoughts are going. Be aware of where your thoughts are going. And you have the ability to change where that is in every single moment. You have the ability to bring more love and compassion to yourself. Another thing that I would suggest is that when you're talking with someone, really listen to what you're saying, because many times we'll be talking and we're talking to ourselves. That person represents some aspect of self. And if you have a real aversion to saying that person represents part of me, then that's probably where the healing should begin for yourself. That's usually a signal that there's something there to look at and something there to have compassion for in self. It doesn't mean that you have to keep that person around, especially if they're not good for your well-being. But it is important to go inside and to find the piece of yourself that resonates with that person. Give yourself some love and understanding. If you're talking badly about someone or something, then you're talking badly about that piece of self, and it's self-love. And I mean capital letter divine love, not little letter L love, which is cluttered with all sorts of things that aren't love in the divine sense. But it's important to come into a divine self-love for all of us. And this is what dissipates the power of the negativity. It can't exist in a high vibration. It's not scientifically, it's impossible. So if that's what we want to do, let's focus on doing that. You can start with self, and we can start that with doing a simple practice every evening before you go to bed. Just lay down in your bed, or even when you're brushing your teeth, if that's your ritual, you can close your eyes and concentrate on sending back all the energy throughout the day that you've collected that doesn't belong to you. Send it back to sender with love and awareness, because carrying other people's burdens is not doing them any favors. That soul has come here to learn a particular lesson. And when we take on that lesson for them, take on that burden for them, it's very disempowering to that other person. It's important to recognize that that person has the power, that person has the wisdom to manage their own stuff. So in the evening, send back with love and awareness all the energy that you've collected that doesn't belong to you, that you've accepted willingly or that's come to you unwillingly. Send it all back. Give yourself a moment to really feel into that release. And then when you feel that release is complete, call back to yourself all of your energy that you've given away willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly, to everyone that you've come into contact with and ask for your energy to be reintegrated into yourself. And this is a good way to keep our vibration high, to make sure that we're not taking on things that don't belong to us. This is a good self-love practice, just like eating good food and giving yourself exercise, clearing your chakras, clear those energy cords, call back your energy to yourself, send back everybody else's energy to them. And this is the way that we will change things. This is the way we raise our vibration. Raising a vibration means keeping things really clear. You can also start clearing your house, clear the clutter. In feng shui, certain rooms represent certain aspects of your being. You can look up that and see what aspect of your life is kind of cluttered, and maybe you can start with cord clearing in that aspect of life. And because it's a full moon tonight here in Eastern time in the United States, hopefully it's not past time for any of you, but it doesn't matter because the full moon is happening now everywhere. I would like to do a meditation with you and harness the energy of the full moon. It's a good time for that. And I purposely asked for this time slot so that I can be with you on this particular day. This weekend is the spring equinox too, which is very exciting. It's renewal. It's a fantastic weekend for releasing things and bringing in new life, new things, completing cycles, and manifesting what is truly your heart's desire. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you and all the crystal skulls that are present with me today, and go ahead and close your eyes. Focus on your heart center. Your heart center is the spark of all creation. Feel and see that spark in your heart and allow that spark to grow, widening out into your heart chakra, filling your entire torso, going all the way down your legs, down through your knees and calves and feet, and connecting all the way down into the center of Mother Earth, of which we are a part. Connect to her healing energy, which she gives very lovingly. And as we connect to her center and her beautiful healing energy, we allow that energy to come back up. We receive that from Mother Earth through the bottoms of our feet, all the way up through our legs, all the way up through our hips, our solar plexus, up into our heart chakras, through our shoulders, allowing that to lift any burdens that we may be carrying there, all the way down our arms, into our hands. And I ask for activation of the chakras in our hands, our healing chakras. Ask for activation of all healing abilities of all who are listening that would like to accept that today. Allow that to come through our hands, feeling that light go out through our fingertips, bringing that back up through our arms into our heart chakra, allowing our heart chakras to be activated with healing energy, going up through confirmation, going up through our throat chakra, up into our third eye and our crown, and allowing that beautiful healing energy that's combined with the spark of creation that we are to go up through our crown, connecting with all beings of love who would like to participate in this meditation, including the crystal skulls, ascended masters, ancestors, higher beings, connecting with them and their divine wisdom, divine love, connecting to our higher selves, and bringing that wisdom back down through our crown chakra, allowing that to swirl into our crown chakra, our third eye chakra, activating those with divine wisdom, coming down into our throat chakra, activating that with words of divine love and peace, harmony, truth, coming down into the heart chakra again, activating our heart chakra, clearing down into our solar plexus chakra, our sacral chakra, our root chakra, clearing and releasing anything that no longer serves our highest and best good. And as we allow this energy to run within us, we focus again on our heart center, allowing that energy to expand beyond our body, connecting us to family, friends, co-workers, anyone that we have a relationship with that we would like to clear cords with, so that we get back to love with them, back to neutrality if that's what's necessary. And we ask that these cords be cleared peacefully, fully, with love, strengthening that bond of love, divine love, allowing those cords to clear with everyone that we have connections with. Just clear them all. Bringing divine wisdom into these relationships, that we know how to manage them. We understand the higher lessons in them, the higher learnings of them. We call in the divine wisdom of our soul contracts so that we may understand why we're having this relationship that we're having with this particular individual or event or place. And we allow this energy to continue working as is comfortable for the individual, strengthening the bonds of divine love, bringing us all into peace and harmony and alignment as we release blame, criticism, disdain. We release pity, and we replace that with knowing that this person is an empowered being. We replace that with compassion, understanding, divinely guided action. We ask for our vibration and the vibration of all those participating and all those who would like to. We ask for our vibration to rise, release anything that prohibits our vibration from raising. And as we raise our vibrations together, we also raise the vibration of the planet. Just feel that energy. Bringing in divine wisdom, divine love, divinely guided action, divinely guided words, bringing forth the remembrance of who we are, the image in which we've been created, bringing forward our divine selves, asking for a strong connection with our higher selves. We allow that energy to continue working infinitely through all space, time, through all lifetimes, forward and backward, all relationships through all time and space. And we call our energy back to our heart center, where we feel gratitude for being here now at this pivotal time, this most amazing time that we've chosen to come to so that we may experience the joy and the awesomeness of our creations. We can experience our divine being. We give great gratitude for the crystal skulls, the ascended masters, the ancestors, and all beings of love that have participated. We encourage them to continue giving us their loving messages, allowing us to hear them, feel them, know them. And with that, as you feel called, bring your consciousness back fully into your body and into the room. And go ahead and open your eyes. And so with that, I'm hoping that you feel that energy. I certainly did. The crystal skulls are with you all the time. You're connected to them through a shape resonance because you have a skull on your neck. And so shape resonance means that you are connected to them. When crystals are cut into the shape of skulls, that actually enables you to receive messages easier because there's another form of resonance that happens to be there. They all have particular gifts. And so I encourage you to tune into the crystal skulls, even if you don't happen to own a physical piece of crystal like this. It doesn't matter. You can tune into the energy of the crystal skulls that's available to you at all times. And my intention for this is that you receive your divine messages. Trust yourself. Know that you're a loving being. Understand that you are created as a creator being. You can't help but be that. That's it. That's what you are. You are a creator being. Be mindful of what you're creating. Understand that the other is a representation of you as well. So as you give yourself love, you will also be an example to the other parts and pieces of you that exist around you and how to love themselves as well. So I know I feel so much energy right now in my solar plexus. It feels like that was a very powerful meditation. And we do also put forward that in this spring equinox, this time of renewal, that we create the things that we want to create in our lifetime. Remember, your words and your actions, your thoughts are all an investment into what you want. So if you're talking about something you don't want, then let's shift the speech. Thinking about something you don't want, let's shift the thought. Acting on something that isn't a heartfelt desire, let's shift that. If somebody were to say to you, here's this losing investment, and we really want you to invest your money into it, and you said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to invest my money into a losing investment. That's not what I want. And they said, yes, let's do that anyway. And you said, okay, well, maybe I'll try it as an experiment. Maybe it'll actually be a winning investment. And you started investing your money and it wasn't giving you the return that you wanted. You'd stop investing. You'd stop investing your energy. You'd stop investing your money. So make sure that you're investing in what you truly desire to be. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. I think we're doing a question and answer session. Are we doing that? If somebody can let me know that information. If you'd like to learn more about working with crystal skulls in the meantime, then feel free to check out my event, which will be posted on Eventbrite. It's called Working with Crystal Skulls. And in that event, we will learn we'll practice channeling with crystal skulls. We'll learn how to connect with them, how to choose one or know if one is choosing you. And we'll also bring forth some healing with the crystal skulls as well. So I'll introduce you to Mana. I'll tell you a quick story about her also. She is my 44-pound crystal skull. This is her. She came from Madagascar, and she travels around with me through the United States. She hasn't been out of the United States yet, but we're looking to do that. She travels around with me, and we do healing meditations. And she also does some channeling work. She brings forth beautiful messages for people. You can look on my Facebook page, Come Home to Your Heart, and see where she will be showing next. Let me see if she has anything for you today. Yes, she is saying that love resides in all of us. And that sometimes people behave in particular ways because of a lack of love in their lives. And for us to recognize that and have compassion for that. And compassion is something interesting. It doesn't mean that we should overgive. Doesn't mean we should give to our detriment. It doesn't mean that we should put ourselves in precarious positions, because there's always a balance of self-love in there as well. It means that we need to be grounded and look at things as an observer would look at them. A lot of times it's difficult because you're emotionally charged when you hear something, especially with a lot of the conversations that we hear today. A lot of people have been emotionally charged through these conversations. And if you find that happening, where you get very emotionally charged about something, I would suggest you take a moment and just ground yourself, connect your energy to the healing energy of Mother Earth, like we did in our meditation, and bring her energy back up. She loves to give. This is what she's here for. We are her children. So make use of that, receive that, practice receiving from her, receive that healing energy. Remember that if you engage in an argument about something, or you're trying to convince somebody that you're right and they're wrong, they're right for themselves and you are right for yourself. You're simply on a different path. And that's okay. It's okay to be on a different path. Be sure you focus on your path for you. Let it go. If they're their own divine authority, they're their own sovereign being. If they want to believe something, it's their choice. If you don't want to be controlled, don't try to control somebody else. Be in control of yourself. Manage your words, manage your energy, manage your thoughts. Be aware of thoughts that are coming into your awareness. There are a lot of movements going on right now that the energy behind them has nothing to do with the way that they're being presented. They're being presented to make it seem like there are two sides of the fence, that there's, the people who believe it and the people who don't believe it, and there's a very distinct difference. It's not even about that. It's about the fact that you're thinking about it. Whether you believe it or you don't believe it doesn't matter. You're thinking about it. You're talking about how you don't believe it. You're being negative about the people who believe it. So you're contributing to the negative energy, or you're being negative about the people who don't believe it. You're contributing to the negative energy. Let that stuff go. Center on your heart center. It's okay. It's okay. That's somebody else's creation. You don't have to grow that. You don't have to water that piece. You don't have to give that piece attention. It's like if I said to you, don't think about that white elephant while you're making your coffee. What happens? You immediately think of a white elephant while you're making your coffee. And you think to yourself when I say it, no, I'm not going to think of a white elephant, because I never think of a white elephant while I'm making my coffee. But you just thought of the white elephant. So be very mindful of what's coming into your reality. Make sure that your thoughts are very focused on the positive, focused on the solution. Sometimes that does mean taking positive action toward a solution. We just called in divine wisdom. Be sure to pause and check in with yourself. Check in with your higher self. This is such a key to everything. The pause. Check in and then speak. Pause. Check in and then see if your thoughts are matching what you really want, where you really want your energy to go. Pause and check in with your divine wisdom, and see if your actions are supporting your raised vibration, if they're supporting the raised vibration of the other. If you're working to assist them in supporting themselves and raising their own vibration, that doesn't mean doing it for them. It doesn't mean changing their mind. That is not what that means. It means recognizing that they're their own divine authority, that they have their own way of being. Recognize that. Recognize how they're contributing through contrast to the evolution of the planet. It's all the same. Whether you we're learning through contrast. This is what we came here for. But if you can stop participating in the negativity and continue to focus on raising your own vibration, continue to focus on the knowing that we're all one part of the one, and it's all love. It is all love. Once we recognize that, these people who are villains stop being villains, and you thank them for their contribution to your evolution. So right now I want to thank all the divine beings on this planet for contributing to the evolution, where we focus our attention on the positive, where we keep our attention focused in love. We keep our attention focused on raising our own vibration, in acting with integrity, speaking with wisdom, focusing our thoughts on love. And that is my wish for all of you. That's my contribution to all of you. And as you listen to these amazing speakers in this conference, I hope that you listen over and over and over again and let the words sink in, because there's more energy in the words than what you're hearing right now. And as you open up and as you continue doing your work and as you listen again, there'll be something new that comes up and that will contribute to your growth, to your expansion, to your evolution, to the world's evolution, and to something higher. So I just wanted to ask if are we doing a question and answer? I thought that Joan said we were doing a question and answer. So I think here we are.
How you doing, Michelle? I'm not sure where everybody's disappeared to, but that was absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. Thank you for sharing that wisdom. Where did you how did you develop the knowing that you needed to appreciate yourself and give gratitude? Where did that come into your equation?
To be honest, a lot of it was channeled with the crystal skulls and their information to me, and just sitting with their messages and allowing that into my heart space really opens up like this quantum field for people where they can let in so much more than just the words. So I'm going to attribute that to them, and the fact that I'm very connected. I feel very connected with them, and I trust them very much. So,
Yeah, I have a little breathing exercise that I went through a similar process, and I found that having calm mind alleviates a lot of stress. And so I would just start doing these breathing exercises. And when I took in the breath, I would concentrate I would focus on where I was sending that breath to in my body, so that all the organs and all the bones, everything got a little taste of it.
yes.
And I would say, take a breath, hold it, count to 10, release it, and begin again. So I'm cleaning and clearing, cleaning and clearing. So when I started practicing that, everything became calmer. I started listening and becoming appreciative to what the process was that was happening in the body. So yeah, you hit on the nail for me with, staying calm, being appreciative, giving gratitude to yourself and to the journey. And because we are reflections, and what we do for ourselves, we are doing for the greater energy that's out there. So yes, I haven't been able to see if there's any questions, and I'm not 100% sure what's happened to the boys. But this is just how it goes in this world.
Yeah, that's
So,
okay.
where can people find you?
So I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page is called Come Home to Your Heart. And I do a lot of different healing modalities. I do a lot of different events. I'm hosting an online event, Learning with Crystal Skulls. So that will be coming up in May. And people can jump on that and learn how to connect with them and learn how to channel their wisdom and their healing. They're pretty profound beings.
Oh yes, absolutely. You're talking about the crystal skulls being the beings.
Yes, there's a history of them that they go back to at times in Atlantis, where there were 12 crystal skulls, one in each of the 12 temples. And when Atlantis was destroyed, they went missing, and they carry ancient knowledge and ancient wisdom, healing with them. And the Mayan legend is that when the world is suitably prepared to receive, they will come back together in community and they'll communicate their ideas. And I think more so than even a physical crystal skull, which I do have here, I feel like that's talking about us, that we will come together in community and we'll be open to each other's messages and we'll channel that divine wisdom and divine healing. And that's how we evolve. That's how we raise our vibration. And that's how the world continues forward in, a place where all of us feel more at home.
Yeah. Do you when you work with your crystal skulls, do you feel that there is the presence of it? Is it a collective of energies and information from, you know, several inputs, or is it sort of an alien feeling, or is it more of a spiritual feeling?
There's no differentiation for me. I do have some crystal skulls that are in the shape of travelers, which are alien beings, star children, and those do tend to channel more otherworldly energies, so to speak. You know, more of an extraterrestrial type of energy. And then the ones that are shaped more like our skulls, like this one here, tend to channel more messages that are more concerned with humanity's situation right now as it particularly exists. They each have their own personality. You can, and maybe I'm using the wrong word, but they each have their own energy feel to me. So I can tell which one is speaking to me and which one's different. And I can ask them which one of them wants to work with one of my clients, and they'll come forward to work with the client. And it's usually their message is something that the client is really needing to hear, or, you know, can really benefit them in some way. So it is strangely spiritual and otherworldly, and it's like all mixed into one.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I don't really work too much with crystal skulls. I have I work with pendulums, and I went through all the different forms of divination in the earlier days. I live on a big slab of crystal at the moment, so I'm always feeling vibrations.
Yes.
You know, got to keep myself calm, and levitation that can wait a little bit longer. But I find I get it's different types of stones, different, you know, the different energies around me solidified, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I would like to say thank you again. I appreciate, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that do. There's a lot of really awesome compliments coming in saying how wonderful you were, and the thank you for the information. So that's lovely. I'm not sure who is up next, whether we are doing exercises or if we have a guest. So I'm hoping that Rob will pop in, or Anna, where are you guys? So anyway,
Well, until they get there, I just want to thank all the people that are contributing by watching. You know, they're contributing their energy, co-creating this entire event. And I so appreciate everybody being here that's viewing this now and in the future. So thank you so much for being the beautiful beings that you are. And thank you.
so
I appreciate you having me.
is there somewhere where people can reach you? Which platform?
So the easiest way to reach me is on my Facebook page. You can message me there. That's probably the easiest way to message me. And to look at my events, then they're listed on Eventbrite. So that Working with Crystal Skulls will be coming up here. That's in the process of being posted at the moment. So I'm excited for that, because to me, when people are open to doing that, you know, just like the prophecy says, then it shows me that we're evolving, that we're learning, and that we're interested in coming more into our heart space and less acting from a place of autopilot, which is important, you know, to bring our conscious awareness to being here right now with what we're doing.
Yes, absolutely. It's a great collective time of energies, and having the full moon helps too.
Oh my goodness. I happen to be at Serpent Mound, which is a sacred burial site in Ohio. And so the energy here today, I was participating in an event for the spring equinox. It's a 3-day event, and we had drumming and healing. And before I came on here, and there was just so much that's being released and so much that's coming into new manifestation. and it's spring. It's so beautiful. Like everything is getting ready. This energy is getting ready to just burst into bloom. And I think people will be very happy with that if they keep focusing on growing the positive things that they want.
Oh yes, absolutely. We just getting ready to go into what other countries call fall or autumn, where we're losing all the leaves. We've noticed in the last 3 days of the moon, temperatures starting to drop now at the early hours of the morning. And today we just got a total deep fog going on all around us. But I'm at the top of a mountain, so I could be in a cloud. But I'm noticing the energies as well. It's like everything that we're creating here. I mean, we're not just doing it here. Everybody is doing it through, releasing their energies through the drumming, through the earth dancing, purifying themselves, changing the way they eat, the way that they think. They're listening to their words. Their words are reflections. These are phonics and spell castings, and the whole lot. We're deprogramming the whole lot. We're starting afresh, and it's like we've always had this information, and now it's time to bring it back out to the light. So huge wave is coming. So I'm looking forward to the 22nd. So absolutely. And so thank you again, my dear, for coming on and sharing with us your information and your wisdom that you've gained. It'll help a lot of people and enhance more frequency out there. So thank you again, Michelle, for coming along. Next up, we have Ford, I believe. I don't know if we were meant to be doing exercises before you, hun. Oh, here we go. Omar is back in the
Hi
house.
there. Sorry about that. Had to deal with some stuff, but I'm back. But next at 3:20, we have Dr. Rita Louise coming on. So she is at 3:20, and then we have Ford coming on at 4:25. So it looks like we are ahead of schedule. It's 3 o'clock. We've got 20 more minutes to go. Anybody want to lead a meditation for 15 minutes for our dear friend Clarence, so that we can send as much energy to him as we possibly can, because he needs it right now. So what do you say?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it.
Yep, definitely. All right. Am I doing it? You doing it? Rob doing it?
Yeah, how about you do it? Because we've got, we're dealing with feminine energy today, and if you lead a meditation, that would be sweet. Because Rob led the other one, the masculine, and now we'll balance it out with the feminine.
Yes, good call.
Okay. All right. If we could all just take a nice breath in and release it out, getting rid of all of our unbalances. Take a breath in. Now we're thinking about the wellness, and we feel that breath and that energy tingling through our arms and all the way down our back, and we release that breath. Take another one in at your own ease, and now we send that healing energy, that light energy, that glow that we know we are, healing thoughts all the way to Clarence. Whatever is happening, may you be in the reflection of the shine, the energy that we're all sending. Move away all the shadow around you so you can breathe. You can feel us breathing for you. Take in that breath from us. Calming down, feeling that flow. Every blood cell in your body is a living organism with wellness. Every breath that we take in, we're giving that blood cell that little bit more energy, that bit more life. That blood cell is then transmuting that energy to you, clearing anything, any negativity around you, calming down, coming down, feeling that earth, the small rocking, like you're the child in the mum's arms. Breathe that out. All the earth medicines at your disposal. Taking in that breath. Feeling it go back down the back spine. feeling it going, that light energy traveling all the way through your body. You can see that light. You can see it from your third eye, from the top chakra coming down. You're envisioning that sun energy that is you flowing through you. You're feeding yourself. You're clearing out any shadows, any parasites. Every part of your body is starting to glow from the inside out, pushing out all that darkness out of your body, out of your auric fields, out of your dimensional spaces that you inhabit, pushing it all out. That light is getting brighter inside you. The more that you clear out, the brighter it gets. You transmute that negative energy that's within you. You're turning it into this light energy and you're feeding yourself. You're becoming more powerful. You're regaining your strength. You're regaining your clarity of mind. Don't forget to breathe in between. We're all sending positive energies. Anybody out there who needs help, we send that positive energy to you. Breathing in and releasing. Breathing in and releasing. Those that can ground themselves so that they become the antennas. Ground yourself. Feel the flow within the soil of the water, the energy, the wellness. It's coming your way. We filter it through. Every time you pick up a glass or go to have a drink, think about the affirmations that you're putting into it, that you're putting into your system. That's going to heal you. That's going to clean out all of the rubbish out of your system. Allowing yourself to open up to more healing energies coming in. You can heal from the inside out. You are wellness. You are love. You are light. You are energy. Breathing it in and breathing it out. Take a big one right in. Hold it for a second. And release. Breathing it in, knowing you're taking in only goodness, only pure energy, coming in, refreshing, embodying the entire spirit awareness, entire self-knowing. You can heal yourself. We give you that energy. You have that energy. We are surrounded by that energy, that healing awareness. Breathing in, stay grounded, breathe out. We wish you only the best. We send you only the best healing with clear intent. No negative attachments from anybody. No negative connections to any ancestral. This is pure light, love, energy coming straight to you. May you receive it in abundance, and may it go to all the areas that you need to be healed in. Breathing out, breathing in. Feel that light energy surrounding you. Feel that warmth, that subtle warmth energy all around you. It's like a big energy hug. Breathe out, relax. Stay grounded. How does that feel? You can open your eyes if you had them closed. How does that feel? just like a warm wave washing over you. That tide that's washing out, washing away all that rubbish, all that negativity that ever came your way. It's going now. It's going back to where it came from. You no longer need to carry any of anybody else's rubbish. It's all gone. You're freeing yourself from all that entrapment. And we are coming into our own. We can read, we can feel, we can understand all of this information. When we need it, it's there for us. Feel that light energy. Feel yourself glowing. You can hear things clearer than you did before. You can see things clearer than you did before. Clarence, I hope that you feel better soon and come back with wonderful news for us. Well, that's all I've really got right now.
That was beautiful, Stone, for sure. And it's an emotional day, you know. I mean, it's been, you know, getting that information and hearing it and being through it before. I do feel like we have made a difference for him today, though, and we appreciate you for doing that for us, because it's important. He's like a brother to us, and I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for him in that sense. And he actually introduced me in Omar, believe it or not. So we took that relationship to the next level. But he was a major part of, you know. I'll tell you a quick little funny story too, since we're here, and
Yep.
how I got started on this whole thing. And we talked about it a little bit before, but I was on my phone trying to find new podcasts and broadcasts, and I come across this one. It's called Closer Encounters, and I'm like, oh, it looks like it, you know, looking for ufology type stuff. And I hear this guy, and he's really nice, and I'm like, and then he says, yeah, you can call in if you want. So I searched around for when it was going to be live.
Oh, not sure if that's my
Yeah, it
connection.
looks now. I think it's Rob's connection. He's been having a hard time with his connection for the past few days. So here, I'll remove him for the time being until he comes back. But yeah, Clarence. I'll tell you how I met Clarence. Clarence
Yes.
is amazing. Actually, I'm pretty shooken up by this news today. That's why I really have been really quiet in the background here today, trying to deal with this, because he's a brother from another mother, and I just have like huge respect and kudos for him. And I came across him on Closer Encounters as well. I was just cruising Facebook one day and came across Clarence and his Closer Encounters, and I looked at him and saw his beard, and I saw the way he was talking, and I was like, hey, I like this guy. So I started to talk with him over the chat. And then I saw a number of his streams, and I, just kind of kept my distance from him. And then one day I just shot him a message. I was like, hey, how's it going? Really like your show, blah, blah, blah. And then we just hit it off since then, and we just became like super good friends. Did a bunch of conferences together, did a bunch of shows together, talked privately on our phones through the studio, but, just spent hours and hours just talking, and, just an incredible guy.
Oh, no, now it's his turn to get knocked off. Okay, Rob, are you there? Come back with your half.
I'm here.
Yeah,
And
good up, Rob.
You're
yeah, no.
taking turns.
So this is what's been happening to my
no.
internet. It's what's been happening to my internet for the whole
Are you
time.
there?
So
Well, it looks like we're having fun times today, people. I can't say I know Clarence myself.
Stone, you can't see Rob? He's right there.
He was there a second. He's gone again.
Yeah, no, he's right there. I see him. Oh, it looks like he's frozen again. Okay, no problem. Rob, maybe you need to reboot your computer, brother. Looks like you're having some issues. But anyways, that's how I met Clarence and became super good friends. And if you guys go back into the video archives of Watchers Talk and go into our conferences, you'll see like lots of stuff with Clarence and I. We did a show just a few months ago, and we were talking about the metal that you can mold and you can do like all kinds of stuff with. So we did an excellent memory alloy, I think it was called, and did a great talk on that. You happening, Rob?
Yeah, I'm here now. Actually, you know what? Stone saw that happening before I even got kicked off because she couldn't see me first. It
Yeah.
was weird. But, you know, so I broke this man's chops. I like he probably thought I was a stalker because I wanted to pick his brain about what he knew and I was intrigued. And then I finally caught the show live and called in. And then after calling in, every time he'd have a show, we'd sit on there and talk for hours. And then, you know, 2 hours, 3 hours passed by. He asked me to come on. And then that was it. That was all downhill from there. And we used to have such crazy conversations about things like panspermia and, you know, just you could pick the phone up and be like, hey, bud, what are you doing? I got something I want to run by you. What do you think of this? And he'd go into a diatribe of just what he knows about it, what he doesn't know. And, you know, he was a contactee, and his contact was something that we used to explore the systems and the ritualistic natures of contact. We really did a lot with his contact, and we both, Omar and myself, had him come on and tell his whole story, which he didn't usually do a lot because he doesn't like to talk to people about it. But even though he had a show on it, it was kind of strange. He liked to talk about it, but not his own personal contact. That he would try and stay away from as much as he could. Remember that, Omar?
Yeah, I sure do. I think the reason why he does that is because I think he's trying to still understand his own experience, right? And he wants to talk to other people, hear other people's experiences, and then try to make sense of what happened to him back in 1972. And I think ever since then, he's just been trying to explore and never really does like talking about it. But when you press him on it, right, he'll give you some nuggets, but he won't go all the way, right? He'll just
never
give you like tidbits of information and leave like 90% out and give you 10% mystery and
unless we were off the air. Off the air, he'd tell you all about it.
Yeah.
But on the air, he wouldn't tell you. So we know the story just more than most. And it's, of course, not our story to tell, but, you know, it was incredible. He really is an incredible dude. And that's why, you know, he's the nicest guy I ever met. And this happened before where he was really sick and they disappeared. And it was months before me and Omar we were calling him, messaging his mother. I mean, we were just trying to find him because we were like, I wonder what happened. And that's kind of what brought me and Omar a little bit closer too, was that absence of Clarence. And then we started doing all this stuff together, and now here we are, best friends. And, you know, it's a really picture perfect story if you think about it. It's pretty cool.
Oh, it's taken two of you to carry his information forward and keep working on the same project. You know, it's all about awareness and yeah.
Absolutely. He used to say that too. You got to surpass the teacher, guys. You got to surpass the teacher. Remember, he used to say it all the time. It was hilarious.
He still says it.
He still says it. I know we're talking like he's not here with us, but he's not physically in the room with us now where he should be. And that's one of the hardest parts, right?
Yeah,
he's
it is.
Still here with us. If you can talk about him and you can visualize him, he's still here with you, even if he's not in the same room.
Of course.
I feel him. I know he's here. And, you know, believe me, I sent him, you know, tons of messages over text, sending him studio links and stuff. But I just don't think he's feeling healthy enough to come on. And from what I understand, he's having a hard time speaking as well. So I don't think he's, wants to come on and, maybe embarrass himself or things. But, whatever. If Clarence, you're listening, shoot me a message, bro. I'd love to see you and speak with you, even if it's not on the show, but just speak with you.
Yeah.
And if you can't speak, we can just text back and forth, brother. I totally understand it. I love you, and I have you in my mind, and I'm going to continue to do healing meditations for you for the remainder of this conference, and then afterwards I'm just going to do it personally. So if you're listening, please reach out to me. I love you very much. And with that being said, thank you very much, Stone, for covering Michelle Falcone while I was trying to deal with some things here. And we have our favorite doctor in the house. Actually, we have a few favorite doctors, right? We have Dr. Joan, that's our favorite. And then we have Dr. Sam, that's our favorite. And then we have Dr. Rita, who's our favorite. I love this lady.
That's right.
She has, just so much information, and the delivery on it is palatable. You can understand it. The energy, but what she delivers with is amazing. And, the conference really wouldn't be the same without Dr. Rita's contribution into that. So, Rob, I'll let you introduce, and then we'll bring Dr. Rita Louise on.
Yes, yes. So Dr. Rita Louise is a medical intuitive reader and intuitive coach. Best-selling author Dr. Rita Louise is the founder of the Institute of Applied Energetics and the former host of Just Energy Radio. She is a naturopathic physician and she's a 20-year veteran in the human potential field. Her unique gift as a medium intuitive and clairvoyant illuminates and enlivens her work. She is the author of the book Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and the Narcissist, Stepping Out of Eden, E.T. Chronicles, What Myth and Legend Have to Say About Human Origin, Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4, Dark Angels, An Insider's Guide to Ghosts, Spirits, and Attached Entities, and The Power Within, a Psychic Healer Primer. She has produced a number of video feature-length videos as well as video shorts. Their titles include Icon, Deconstructing the Archetype of the Ancients, Holy Deception, The Weapon of the Gods, Gobekli Tepe, the Burying of the Ancient Megalithic Site, Genetic Engineering, Ancient Feats that start a revolution, The Truth About the Nephilim, Deceit, Lies and Deception, The Reptilian Agenda, Attached Entities, The Bad Kids of the Spirit World, In the Name of God, Ghosts, Gods and Myths, The Secret to the Laws of Attraction, Reincarnation, and Have We Been Here Before? So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Dr. Rita Louise.
Hey, Rob, it has been a long time since we've talked.
That is very true, and I'm looking forward to bringing you back on in Full Spectrum Universe to see what you're up to now. And it has been quite a while. I think it's been about 1.5 years since we spoke.
I think it's even been longer than that.
Maybe. Yeah, probably. This is wild. I always love to see you back at the conferences too, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say today.
Well, this is like my whole new thing. See, and I don't think we've even talked about this topic because today I'm going to be talking about empaths and narcissists, and I don't think we've talked about that on your show.
I don't think we did. I remember you had the book out, or it was coming out at the time, I believe, the Dance of the Empath and the Narcissist, and that was about a relationship that you had been in, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
So that triggered the book, but the book isn't. It's not a memoir.
Gotcha.
You know, we're going to be covering some of the stuff that comes out of that book today, but I also have some new material because I guess I'm going to be writing yet another book about relationships, which, sometimes I just don't know what they're going to stick in front of me and go, okay, this is what we're going to talk about now.
That's the way it works, right? You're just like, okay, I guess so.
It's like, well, you thought you were going to talk about this, but no, we have other plans for you.
Those are the best conversations, though. The ones where you go in prepared for something, and then you end up doing something else, and you're like, wait a minute. And that, it kind of throws you off, but it's a genuine moment for everybody when that happens, too. So it's an incredible thing. I'm going to alleviate myself from the stage and give you time to speak.
Okie dokie. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and today we're going to be talking about empaths and narcissists. And those words have really been tossed around a lot lately, but I think people don't really have a deeper understanding of what they are, what they mean. And one of the things that I talk about them regarding is because many times individuals that are empaths, and I'm going to get more specific on that, find themselves in relationships with narcissists, and they get into this, what I call a dysfunctional dance. And it becomes a very interesting dynamic that affects a lot, shockingly, a lot of people, but they don't really realize what's going on. And so sometimes when you bring it up, it makes their life make more sense. And so kind of what Rob was bringing up, how I got into this whole thing. So I'm just going to say I'm a little bit of a narcissist magnet, so I don't know. I must have like too nice written across, well, maybe written across my butt. I like that spot better. That seems to bring these not very healthy life. Not as we talk about empaths and narcissists, and I should stop leaning on this table because it's making my camera shake. And there's not an earthquake going on. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about empaths first. And so a person who's an empath, while they have empathy, it is something that's very different. Someone that has empathy can relate to you. So, for the regular person, let's say, so like, for example, because too many toxic relationships, married too many times. My best husband, who I love to death, died, which, thanks. And so when I talk to someone who has lost a spouse or has lost a child, I mean, I'm a hardcore empath, but I also can kind of step into their shoes and empathize with what they're feeling and what they're experiencing. When you talk about someone who's an empath, okay, not empathy, but empath, they're very highly sensitive. And so there's something called highly sensitive people. And then there are people who are empaths who take that sensitivity kind of to the next level. I mean, many of the times when you meet a person who's an empath, they're kind and sensitive. They tend to be compassionate. They very often find themselves in caretaking roles, like in the healthcare profession, in service type organizations, because they like to have those kind of relationships with people. And they're the ones, so, and as I talk about some of this stuff, if it's ringing true for you, then you might be an empath. Anyway, but they're also the people that, you start a conversation with a complete stranger and the next thing you know, they're telling you all of their problems and telling you about their kids and their job and whatever. And so people find it very easy to talk to them and disclose to them because I think they feel safe. I think people who tend to be empaths vibrate and emanate at a safe vibration. Okay. But they also can be psychic sponges. And I'm going to explain that because, you hear this terminology being thrown around and it's like, okay, but what does that really mean? But if you're an empath, you can feel other people's emotions in your body, or you absorb emotional energy from the room around you. Many times you can detect very subtle changes, like you're having a conversation with someone and you make a statement, right, wrong, or indifferent, and you can just feel their energy shift, that it upset them or it excited them or whatever that is, but you can feel that. It's not on a visual cue, it's on a feeling sensation. Now, that ability is great. So for me, I'm a medical intuitive. I do intuitive counseling. I've been doing a lot of work with people that are trauma and abuse survivors. So it is really great in session work because your pain is my pain, your emotions are my emotions. And so it makes it easier for me to kind of dig into you on an intuitive level because I can feel it. So that's great. Although being an empath can be a blessing and a curse. Because while you're picking up the energy from around you, many times you don't recognize that what you're feeling is your feelings. And so you just don't know. I mean, it really takes a lot of work and a lot of practice and a lot of mindful attention to this is how I feel, and now, or this is how I felt, but I had this interaction and this is how I feel now. And so, as an example, because it's not like someone saying, hey, I'm like sending this energy your way. So when I was a kid and my family would have company, it's like my parents would be really tense and uptight, and you have to put like the coaster under the cup that you never had to do before. And it was, you could cut it with a knife. I mean, just the level of anxiety that was going on there. And being sensitive, it's like now I'm picking up all of their anxiety, and now I am running around majorly anxious, not realizing that what I'm doing is picking up their anxiety. And it would just get to the point that it would set me off, and I would have a little bit of a meltdown, which, it wasn't very pretty, ever. That's one of the biggest things about being an empath is, picking up that energy. I do a lot of trade shows, health and wellness expos, ghost shows, UFO shows, and I speak and I have a booth. And when I'm at those shows, it's like I live in my booth. Because if I just decide to like go walk the conference and walk around the different booths, it's overwhelming. And sometimes I'll find myself just wandering around. I've gone to events with people and I will hang on to the back of their shirt because I will get lost, or I'll just wander off. And I've just learned that as a coping mechanism to not be overwhelmed and not be overloaded with this energy. So this is my little gating test of whether you might be an empath. And you're probably going to laugh at what I'm going to say, but if you are, it's totally true. So how many of you, and obviously I can't see your hands or get an answer in this, but how many of you have challenges going to somewhere like Walmart? You go with a list, you think this is what I'm going to get. You're in there and, after about 15 minutes, it's kind of like you can't get out of there fast enough. Maybe you have the things on the list, maybe you don't. All you know is, I got to go. And Walmart's interesting because I can't navigate Walmart. Anyway, so if you find that you have that kind of an issue going to Walmart, going to a mall, that should be innocuous, then you might be an empath. So kind of shifting gears here a little bit. So when we talk about the dynamics between an empath, this dysfunctional dance that they do, an empath and a narcissist, many times what you find is that the person that gets involved is an empath, but they're what I call a wounded empath. And so these people have a number of characteristics on top of they're taking on all of this energy. They tend to be people pleasers. They are often not taught to love themselves. They're many times taught to sacrifice themselves, and who they are and what they want for someone else. Sometimes there's a belief that if I don't do what you say or what you want, there's going to be a consequence tied to it. So they just don't say no because they, the belief is if I say no, you're going to be mean to me or there's going to be something bad that happens. Sometimes they feel like they don't have a choice and have to just accept whatever is being given to them. But the bottom line, the wounding impacts their ability to create boundaries, say no, and will accept unacceptable behavior at really any cost. Okay, now let's talk about the narcissists. And so people who have, narcissism is actually a diagnosed mental health condition, but narcissism is on a spectrum, kind of like autism. You can have someone who's severely autistic, and then you can have someone who is somewhere on the spectrum. I think we all understand that. And so if you're severely narcissistic, there is a mental health condition that's in the DSM-5 that puts them up there with psychopaths, which is a little scary. But people who are psychopaths also have a lot of narcissistic traits tied to them. And if somebody has a question, I know that first porn poster blocked. Okay, don't know what that is.
Dr. Rita, that's we've been getting bombarded by these people that come into our chat rooms and post porn links, and it really damages the channel and the chat. So we see them here and then we block them right away. But this is the first attack of porn that we've had in 3 days now. So I think we're winning.
That's because they like me. They're like, oh, you're talking about my kind, the narcissists of the world. Woohoo! No, I was just like, okay, that's kind of weird. Okay.
Yeah, I feel really bad for those people because I think to myself, imagine the life that they're living and trying to put like low energy type of stuff like that into the world. Mm-hmm. So I kind of actually feel bad for them that they have to live in this type of environment, ecosystem. I don't know.
But it gets them energy.
Yeah, and that's something I don't want to do. Just give
that. And that's just a very narcissistic thing, and that is one of the biggest characteristics of a person that's a narcissist. There's two. One is that they want energy, they want attention, they want you to look at them, they want you to worry about them, they want you to do stuff, and they lack empathy. So, and I'm going to say this, and I hope no one kind of gets pissed off. So I wrote my book, The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist, that talks about this whole dynamic. And I've joked around, and it's not really a joke, is that anyone that is narcissistic will either they would never read it because there's not anything wrong with them, because that's a narcissistic trait, that there's not anything wrong with them, or they would sit there and listen to what I'm saying now and go, oh, well, my brother is that way, or so-and-so is that way, but I'm not. So just saying, it's true. But people who are narcissists, they want your energy, they want your attention. They are the psychic vampires of, the physical world, where attached entities are the psychic vampires of the ghost world. They live on the core belief. So empaths, one of the core beliefs tied to them is the core belief of subjugation / people pleasing, where the narcissist, their core belief is one of entitlement. So many times they have very inflated egos. They feel that people's job is to praise them or admire them. They feel that it's people's jobs to meet their needs. They'll use people. They will many times not offer anything in return. And if you do want something, they'll get rid of you. They will unfriend you. They'll ghost you. They'll dump you if you're in a relationship with them. And what's really sad is that on the outside, they tend to be very kind, very charming. But that's just this mask that they wear, and once you get to know them and once you get to experience them for a while, the mask starts to wear off and you start to see the person that's really behind it, who might not be who you believe they were at all. Many times you hear stories about preachers, and how everybody loves this preacher and he's the cat's meow. But then you find out that he beats his children at home, and so he's projecting this one version of himself. But the reality is that he's not a very nice person, very nice man or woman. I tend to use, I tend to call the narcissist men because I'm a woman. Makes it easier for me, but this is an equal opportunity phenomena. Actually, my husband that passed away, the really good one, he's been married more times than me. And after we got married, he, like a month later, he just looked at me and said, well, I'm waiting. And I'm like, what are you waiting for? He goes, well, I'm waiting for you to change. And I'm like, change how? He goes, well, and every time that I've been married, it's like, after a month or two, they changed and just became like ultimate bees. And I looked at him like, dude, this is it. I mean, I might not do my hair as much or do my makeup as much, but I don't really change, and that's probably why our relationship got along really good, because I didn't become this entitled, yucky person that was hiding up behind the mask of the false self. But in that, these individuals tend to be master manipulators, so many times if they want something from you, they'll come over and they'll be super nice. They'll be your bestie, and they hang out with you, and then they get what they want and they're gone again. And it's interesting because they'll only do what they want to do. They'll do what they want to do, or they'll do things that make themselves look good. I got stories, I'm telling you. Been there, done that. Wait, got the t-shirt, got the pen, got the cup, and wrote a book. Got it. Anyway, so one husband, because again, been married too many times, me. So he remarried, ended up having 2 kids. She got rid of him, which was part of what spurred on me writing the book in the first place. And, and he really didn't want to have anything to do with his kids, because that took work and he really didn't want to have to do it. And he didn't have somebody else, like me, who raised his 2 kids, his older 2 kids, to do that work that he didn't want to do. But he would start dating women, and now he wants the kids to take with him on these dates, because taking the kids on the dates makes him look better. Not that he really wants to be around the kids, but it makes him look good to the potential person he's trying to be with. Isn't that sick? Weird. Anyway, okay. So they'll only do what they want to do. If you say you want to do something, again, if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. They'll ignore what you have to say. Or if you want them to do something that they don't want to do, they will become the ultimate procrastinator. So they might want you to do something and then expect you to just like jump up and take care of it. But if it's turned around, procrastinator. Okay, I need to like swallow a little bit, talking too fast. Okay.
You okay, Dr. Rita?
Yeah, I just don't have any water.
Grab yourself some water, Dr. Rita. We'll wait.
Okay.
Let's give Dr. Rita a minute, guys. And in the meanwhile, you guys subscribe, like, and share this stream. And I just tossed my Telegram chat room link up there. So if you guys would like to join my Telegram chat room, do so. And Rob from Full Spectrum Universe also has a Telegram chat room. So you guys can connect with him there as well.
Okay.
To have live conversations with us if you feel. You okay, Dr. Joan? All good now? Oh, sorry, Dr. Rita.
Sometimes I just get into the topic and I start talking really fast, and then I just get really dry.
Yeah, I hear you. We've been talking for 7 days straight now, so I know exactly where you're coming from. I just want to make sure that you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
I'll just take like a deep breath here. Okay. So you might wonder what happens when these two personalities get together. And what I think is that they get into this very dysfunctional dance. The narcissist will use manipulation techniques, which inevitably knocks the empath out of their body, because they're just very sensitive and they can become really ungrounded or dissociated. And so they, and once that happens, there can be all of this stuff going on, and it's almost like they can't sense it. It's like static in their radar, so where normally they can like spot BS from anywhere, it's like now things are just kind of messed up. And so when they start pulling their crap, because it is crap, it makes the empath really uncomfortable. And so they're feeling uncomfortable. And so that discomfort compels them to heal them. So I got another story. And it's kind of a generalized story. But there have been situations where my spouse, partner, or whatever, would say something or do something, and then they would get angry. Or maybe I would say something and they would get angry. But now I can feel this anger in me, and it feels terrible. It just is awful. And so I thought, to make it so that I didn't feel awful, that it would be a good idea to do something to make them not be angry anymore, so that I don't have to feel so uncomfortable. Apparently, that's not a really good solution. So I have better solutions than that. Apparently, that's bad. Thank you. I got little mints now. And so they feel compelled to heal the situation. Well, but what the reality is that now I'm taking my energy and doing things to make my partner feel better. So now I am feeding them my energy, but I'm not addressing my own emotional issue of, you're getting angry again, and you're kind of throwing it at me, which really sucks. So I'm giving to them, I am, because it's not like, here, I'm giving you this candy. It's like, I'm giving you my energy. I'm giving you my attention. And from a narcissistic technical point of view, that is called narcissistic supply. That's when that energy vampire has his little energy teeth in your neck and he's going, and he's sucking you dry. And so in those situations, you as the empath become a ready supply of food for them. And this sounds terrible, but many times a wounded empath will give to avoid the discomfort. And a narcissist is more than happy to sit back and take. And that's the dysfunctional dance. And it happens all the time to a lot of people, and the person doesn't necessarily have to be, physically abusive. I mean, they could be mentally abusive. They could be emotionally abusive. They could be neglectful. There's a lot of places where that dynamic can come in. And so many people ask me, okay, so if I'm with a narcissist or getting into a relationship with a narcissist, are there things that I can look for? Are there patterns in their behavior? So when you start a relationship with a narcissist, the first thing that they do is they love bomb you. Okay, I have to share this. So when I started working on my book, The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist, and I was researching this whole concept of narcissism for my own edification, because I didn't really understand what was going on and realize how much of a pattern it was in my life. And the part that I thought was the most interesting is there are things that they do. Like I would be reading something like this love bombing thing, and I'm like, oh my God, There's a word for it. It was shocking. I mean, there were words for all kinds of really bad behavior. And I got stories. Okay, so love bombing, is where they sit there and they tell you that, you're the best thing since sliced bread. And, they might talk to you for hours at a time and make you feel really good. They leave you feeling like they're really into you. And they might kind of try to push the relationship along faster than it should, but on the receiving end, it's like you just get the impression that this person is really into me and it's good. They're into me. Yay. And they seem perfect. They like the things you like, I mean, it's interesting. It really kind of like strokes your ego and makes you feel good. But, if your ego gets stroked enough, that kind of knocks you out of your body and kind of puts some static in your little internal empath sensors as well. Because they're constantly there. They're constantly giving you energy, and overloading those internal sensors. So along with the love bombing is something called future faking, and they usually kind of go together, where they'll start making comments about, oh, when we live together, or, well, we should do this, really early in the relationship where it probably is not really appropriate, but they're kind of lining things up, kind of mentally manipulating you with this level of like, this is what I really want, and a level of hope of this is what I should expect from this relationship down the road. So, as I just shared that story about my late husband saying, well, I'm waiting. Well, many times once the relationship moves into full gear, there will come a time where, so let's say I'm in the relationship and I decide I want to go back to school, or I want to have children. I mean, obviously for me, that isn't happening right now. But, you want to move the relationship over, and what you want to do is going to take attention away from the narcissist, or you correct him. I mean, one relationship, there was a comment made that the Hubble telescope was in Palo Alto, California. And I just said, no, the Hubble telescope's up in space, up there, Hubble telescope. And the person I was in the relationship got really mad at me. And he was telling me that I was trying to be a know-it-all. And, I'm sorry, the Hubble telescope is still in space. There isn't anything I can do about it, And so there comes a point in time where you aren't agreeing with them all the time. You're trying to make some kind of plans. And they will put you into the devaluation stage, so you go from being this person on a pedestal and you're perfect and you can't do anything wrong to you start having a lot of flaws, and they will do things like gaslighting, and they do things to kind of make you crazy and to get a reaction out of you. So then they can say, well, you're the crazy one. True story. Bizarre as this may be, but one boyfriend, he had some issues. I'm going to just kind of preface it with that, but it still fell into the gaslighting thing. And this was like the most bizarre. But then I found out other people have had their significant other do similar things. He would hide things, but like weird things. So I had a pair of shoes. I have a 2-story house. They were sitting on the landing so I could take them upstairs, but I wasn't being very quick about it. And I came down one day and there's only one shoe on the stairs. And it was the middle of summer and they were like little summer shoes. And I'm looking around and looking around and looking around and looking around. Why would there only be one shoe? My dog wouldn't have taken it. Looking under furniture, everywhere. And so, as bad as this might sound, about 6 months later, I'm like doing a deep clean on my house. I have company coming, so I'm like taking things off the bookcase and dusting them. And on the shelf, behind some pictures on the bookcase, was my shoe. And so I said, "Hey, look, I found my shoe." And the comment I got was, "Oh, I must have been answering the door because this bookcase was by the front door and put it there." There's no way that it would get behind these pictures that were kind of on the back of the shelf. That's the weirdest. But they might sit there and invalidate you. I was looking for a job and did an interview, and the person I was with at that point in time was like telling me, you don't need this job, it's going to be bad. You're not really going to want to work for them. I mean, just like, to the point that I had to tell him, you need to just keep your negative energy over, like over there, because I want this job and I think it would be a good fit. But it really riled me up, and he really did get a big reaction out of me, and that's really kind of the point, is to get a reaction out of you and then say, "Oh, well, I didn't really mean it." Like, right. But they can do things like they will do projection, where they will sit there and say, "Oh, well, you're needy, or you're doing this." But the reality is that they're the ones that are doing it. You're not the one doing it. They can use something like called cognitive dissonance, where they say one thing and then do the opposite. So, and I don't mean to be political, but if you sit there and you look at the whole COVID vaccine thing, it's kind of like vaccines work, vaccines don't work, you need a booster, you need that. And it's crazy making. So between gaslighting and cognitive dissonance, you cannot put your feet on the ground, because 1 + 1 does never equals 2. It always equals 3 or 5 or some other weird number that you would never guess. And again, makes you crazy. Or they'll employ the silent treatment, where they'll just leave you alone. You ask them a question, they don't respond, or you get little teeny responses, and the excuse I would get would be, "Well, I'm giving you your space." Well, it's like, no, it's because you're punishing me and pushing me over there as a punishment, the silent treatment. So you might ask, okay, so if this relationship is unhealthy, why do people stay? And it really depends on, who, and I'm going to say the abuser, because if someone is being narcissistic to someone else, it really is a level of abuse. But they might go and start love bombing you again and telling you how perfect you are and how great, and I'll never do it again. And they fill you with hope. So you can only think of, the couple where the husband beats the wife and she has a black eye or maybe a broken arm, and they split up for a couple of days and they get back together again. And you wonder to yourself, what the heck is going on? But many times the abuser will come and say, "Oh, I didn't mean to have it, or mean for that to happen. I'm so sorry, it'll never happen again. I'll stop drinking. I'll go to AA, and they'll tell you all of this stuff they're going to do, but then they don't do it. But it leaves the victim with this sense of hope that it's going to be better. And so I found this in a book, and I don't have my glasses, so hopefully I can read this. And I just found it very telling. And this is about hope. And it says, "Yet our usual kind of hope is a little more than wishful thinking. It's frequently tied to an almost childlike belief that even blind faith that an eternal agency or authority will bring about what we desire. Driven by our preferences for a different set of conditions, this conventional view of hope is a rejection of what is present for us in the here and now. It's the flip side of fear. Ordinary hope disguised as expectation is fixated on a specific outcome. So if you're the victim, it's like, the specific outcome would be they don't do that anymore and they're nice to me. This hope gets conflated with the desire for certain future results. It becomes object focused. It takes us outside of ourselves. The quandary is that when the outcome isn't achieved, the object isn't grasped, then our hopes are dashed. I found that very fascinating. One of the other things that happens in these relationships, especially if there's a lot of abuse that happens, is something called trauma bonding, and you find this even more so, again, in, the more abusive relationships. So trauma bonding happens. I'm going to have to kind of back this up a little bit. So as we know, we all have chemicals inside of our body. And so when we are stressed out, when we have a lot of anxiety, our body releases cortisol, which comes out of the adrenal glands. And, that's where it kind of sits underneath that stress response. And we just can't get comfortable, or, we're having a hard time at work. That's cortisol. So when the narcissist is being, I'm going to just say yucky, and not being nice to us, it's like our bodies are releasing a lot of cortisol because we're sitting there tolerating their bad behavior. And then, maybe a situation happens and it takes it to a peak. And then they turn around and do the lovey-dovey story. I didn't mean to do it, blah, blah, blah. And what happens is that our bodies start to release dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter, which is a feel-good, make you happy neurotransmitter. And so people that are in these relationships, especially if they're in them for an extended period of time, their hormones get dysregulated. And so they're used to living on, the cortisol. And it's like they crave the dopamine. They crave that feel-good peace. And so they will re-engage so that they can have that feel-good peace. And I read it in one place where it's believed that it's harder to break a trauma bond than it is to quit doing heroin. And so that's how powerful. It's like you just want one fix. You just want them to text you. Just call me. Wait, I'm going to send you a text and maybe you'll call me. And now I got my fix. I mean, it's really kind of scary to say, but it's very true. And it's a very real thing that happens. So if you know someone who has been in these situations or is currently in a situation like this, maybe you can have compassion for them, because if they're really trauma bonded, it's not that they're stupid. I mean, they really are kind of addicted to the relationship, and it can be very hard to walk away. Okay, I got a few more minutes. So there are a number of things. How many more minutes do I have before question time? Let me ask, because I'm going to kind of gauge where I'm going to go.
You have. Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead, Omar.
Okay. We have our next speaker coming on at 4:20, so we can go until like about 5 more minutes. Scott, Rob, 5 minutes, 4 or 5, 4:10, about there. Let's go 4:10.
Okay.
For 10 minutes.
Okay, then I'm just going to wrap this up and we can take maybe a couple of questions. It is possible to create healthy relationships, especially if you found yourself in repeated cycles of abusive, funky relationships with narcissists. The one thing is to decide to love yourself, and this includes every decision that you make, in the relationship. Is this decision or this lack of decision being loving to myself? If I feel hurt and I don't say anything, am I being loving to myself? And this lets us be more authentic with who we are. For an empath in particular, learning who you are and being able to separate out, this is my energy. This is how I feel on, regular. And this is me on somebody else's energy. This is me on Walmart energy. And once you can sit there and go, well, this isn't me, it's much easier to discharge the other energy. Differentiation is important. Boundaries. Wounded empaths have really bad, crappy, awful boundaries. And sometimes you have to be willing to love yourself enough and willing to accept the consequences of your choices to have boundaries. So if someone does something hurtful to you and you've already asked them to stop, so I've said, hey, that's really hurtful. So now I've just set a boundary, please don't do that again. Now I've set a boundary and they do it again, then you have to be loving enough to yourself to walk away. Okay. Yeah. And so if you are not open to, now I'm going to go somewhere else because I want to get questions. We're responsible for our own happiness. And if you're not happy, then you should take a moment and to dig in and look at what's creating the discomfort in your life. Decide if it can be resolved. And if not, then love yourself enough to take the high road and maybe make a different choice that is going to support your happiness. Maybe not in that moment, but that that you will have going down the road. Okay, so I am open for questions. I'm hoping we have a couple of minutes.
Of course we do. So I don't like to think of myself as somewhat of a narcissist, but I kind of feel like I used to be. After evaluating what you've said and the way that I used to, I guess we could say semi-narcissist in the way that I used to treat people sometimes and use some of those methods to try and maybe get my way in certain situations. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. We've all gone through this at certain points, but I of course, I'm older now, wiser, hopefully, and I try to be love first and be upfront and honest. And what would you say to the people that kind of function in and out of this sort of these phases like that?
Okay, great question. So everyone has a certain amount of narcissistic tendencies. You don't try to get the A on your paperwork. You don't try to win things if there isn't a certain amount of self-serving interest that we have. You would just never succeed. But there is a line between doing things that are good and important for you and taking other people into consideration. And I feel like for you kind of had a little wake-up moment and said, oh, well, and I would guess that there was a defining moment where you realized that you were not being loving to other people, and decided, you know what, I need to change that in me.
Absolutely. There was a moment that it's one of those moments you can't take back either. I don't want to go too descriptive into it, but it's a moment that you have that clarity for a moment. And you're like, well, I can't really be that way anymore. It's not genuine. It's not real. I'm kind of being fake in those moments. So another question I have, and this is something that I've seen regularly with a lot of these different apps that we go on, like Clubhouse or Stereo, where there's specifically type of they're specifically talk type of applications where people do like podcasts and stuff. And what you see is these people who come in with this wealth of information about something. Then what they try and do is they try and find a really big group, get themselves embedded in it, and create wedges. Now, is that a narcissistic type of thing or is that labeled narcissism because of what they're doing?
I mean, it sounds like it's pretty ego driven. It's one thing to sit there and, try to invade a group and make a lot of sales. That would be one thing.
Right.
In the whole narcissistic world, there's another word because they got a million words called triangulation. And that's what you're talking about. And that is a very narcissistic thing, so group A is mad at group B, but group A and group B are both talking to me, and so you
That's
find that
exactly what it is.
in siblings, it's like, well, we're friends today, and we're like not talking to you, but then something happens and I'm not talking to you anymore. I mean, we're buddies now, and so, yeah, that is a very narcissistic thing to do.
You see a process after that too, is where one person blocks the other, and then the other person goes around them to everybody else that they know and tries to say something about them being blocked because they can't participate in the same space anymore. It's just wild. It's just wild thing you see all over the place. You're like, it's tough to handle, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's human nature. People are freaking weird. So I have really been working on having boundaries. And I asked someone who is posting some, I'm going to say not kind things as comments on some of my posts, who I thought was a friend. I said, can you tone it down? And, can you post supportive things? That would be nice. And I kind of got a lecture and kind of backhanded in the response. And I was like, you know what? Bye.
That's another thing that we're seeing a lot of now too, with a lot of people being inside and a little bit more introvert as opposed to extrovert. You see a lot of lashing out in these ways like that. I mean, it's wild because, and I keep saying wild because it blows my mind that people are not as considerate as they used to be. They're very driven on their own selfishness, I guess it is the way to put it. I'm not really sure if that's the right way, but and God forbid you don't agree with their point of view. It's like World War III all of a sudden. Now you're going to have a diatribe back and forth of who's on whose side. And it's like people are getting divisive by nature.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't help that, the energy on the planet is toxic and harsh. And this is interesting. So in 2019, so I don't predict the future, but I used to, and I don't do it these days, kind of feel into the energy on the planet. I mean, right now the energy sucks, so I don't really want to feel it. And I kept telling the clients, I'm like, in 2020, like not much after the beginning of the year, you have been building up for this big shift. And once 2020 hits, it's like it's going to peak and it's going to create this opportunity for you to really know and understand yourself, and project that out. Little did I know that COVID was going to hit, but one of the things that it has done is that it has made people really look inside to see what they value, and then be comfortable with expressing it. And so, if you're a really yucky, toxic person and you want to express your yucky, toxic self, then I can choose to not be your friend or, whatever, make a separation about it.
I agree with that too. And we saw a lot of those people becoming sort of away from the group. Like people wouldn't go. It's come to the point where people have to go out of their way to essentially associate with other people and even talk to other people. And you're right. It did cause. There was two different shifts. I think in the very beginning there was a shift, and then midway through, people decided that this is not really gonna go anywhere anytime soon. We need to figure out what we're looking at. We have another question from Omar that he really wants me to ask. He says, what signs can we look for in our children to correct the behavior?
Okay. So the development of narcissism is tied to that entitlement core belief. And so entitlement means I want the toy and I want it now. And so the parent could just give the child the toy, which would validate that entitlement behavior. Or the parent might say no, and now the kid is on the floor having a temper tantrum and screaming and yelling to the point that the parent just says, okay, here's the toy. and so they do things and there's not consequences. And so in order to kind of move them out of that entitlement area, having boundaries with your children, having there be consequences to, their behavior. So I have two stepkids, and when one of them he was 9, and I was just starting to date his father, and I took him to Walmart, my favorite place, and and I had just moved to Texas. I wasn't making a lot of money. I had kind of walked away from my practice in Washington State, so I was really on a budget. And he wanted to buy a toy. And I said, if it's like $5, I'm okay. But if it's over $5, we need to have a conversation. And there, of course, it's Walmart, so there's no tags. And so we get up to the register and it was like $20. And I was like, sorry, can't do it. And he was 9. He literally sat on the floor at the register at Walmart and started to cry. So I can only assume that, his mom or whatever would get him to shut up.
Right.
They grew into pretty well-adjusted people. I just looked at him. I'm like, dude, I don't know you. I walked out of the store.
That's a good one. Now, the question I have for you is accountability the cure for narcissism? Or is it sort of like the anti-narcissism?
Well, they'll never take ownership of anything that they do. They'll just blame you for everything or say they didn't do it. If you're talking about a child, there's hope. But if they're pretty far on that narcissistic spectrum, then, it's part of who they are. And there has to be two things. A willingness to accept that there's something wrong with you, because if you're really hardcore narcissist, you're godlike, and you have to be willing to put the work in and make the changes. And many times it's like they don't want to. It's not on their playlist, and so they won't do it. They might give you 10 minutes, and that's it.
Is there a way that we can kind of induce this I want to say remorse or sorrow factor into it, in a sense of giving some sort of exercise so those people might see what they're actually doing to people?
They would probably just make a comment about you, that you're making it up, that you're just projecting at them, that you're just gaslighting at them. I mean, if you think about it, it's like someone who, is an alcoholic. Until they're really ready to own the fact that they have a drinking problem and are willing to put the work in to make those changes, and it might be so deeply, many times narcissism comes out of trauma, early childhood trauma. And, it's believed that they create those masks because they don't want to look at their pain. They don't want to address the hurt inside. And so until they're ready to do that healing work, they're just going to keep it blocked out of themselves.
I think that's kind of what caused me to act out in that way for a long time. And not in a long time, but my 18 to about 25, I want to say, is really when I was like that. I really didn't think, I walked around like my shit didn't stink. I was invincible, and nobody could stop me. And I think it had a lot of negative connotations at the time. But I think it's also part of that journey, and I look back on it and kind of am thankful for that portion of my life, because I do have a confidence that's not overbearing into the cocky side. And I think that's where I kind of found that line where it was appropriate or inappropriate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But you also did a deep dive inside and decided to make that change.
For the most part. I mean, like you said, sometimes, it always comes back around a little bit, but sometimes we do have to look out for ourselves. And there are certain instances where I don't want to say narcissistic. I say self-defense is more of a key factor to it. But Dr. Rita, I love your perspective and your intake onto the human condition and the human emotional spectrum, and I think that it's so insightful, and I love the work that you do, and I want to make sure that everybody knows exactly where they can find your information, your programs, and your books.
Sure. So my primary website is soulhealer.com, soulhealer.com, soulhealer.com. The book that I've been talking about, and it's really jam-packed with information, and a lot of people have commented that it made them cry. Sorry in advance. It's available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. If you'd like an autographed copy, you can get one off of soulhealer.com.
Perfect. Dr. Rita, it's always an honor and a privilege to talk to you, and it's always a pleasure. I can't wait to work with you again, and we're going to be in contact soon because I want you to come back on the show and kind of update us on what you've been doing and what's going on. And we really appreciate you being a part of this immense conference. It wouldn't have been the same without you, I'll tell you that.
Thank you. I just can't wait till we can do it all in person. That would be so amazing.
That's the next step. We're going to be doing it in person and virtual at the same time. That's the next wave. So
Cool.
soon. All right, Dr. Rita, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank
From
you. Bye,
Catalina.
everybody.
What'd you say, Omar?
Live conference, live from Catalina.
Yeah.
Cannot let go of that out of my mind.
Right.
Saw that a couple days ago, and I'm definitely creating an intention and a thought to have a conference at Catalina. So
Catalina, Peru, right?
that's right. Keep an eye out for that,
Yeah.
and it should be a lot of fun. I think we were invited to go down there to hold some conferences, so I think I'm going to take that up because that is an opportunity of a lifetime to do, and it would be an amazing experience to connect down there and stream from down there as well. So it'd be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rita.
All right. Thank you.
Love you, my star
It's good to
sister,
see you again.
Be in contact. Appreciate your
We'll be in
contribution
contract. Where are you going?
to Humanity Unplugged. So my mind is everywhere today. Just
I know, it's a crazy
having
day.
heard from Clarence. It's just it's my thoughts are all over the place.
Gotcha. All right.
Thank you,
I'm
Dr.
going-
Rita. Love you, and
Love
we'll
you.
talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So next one is going to be a gooder one. Been waiting for this one for since I heard. Soon as Dr. Joan told me who was coming on, I was excited, and I was like, "Yep, let's do it. This is going to be a lot of fun." So I'm really, really looking forward to our next guest. So let me just quickly read off Ford, his bio here. So it says, Ford is an American award-winning music producer, songwriter, and visionary. For more than 25 years, Ford has created music for some of the most famous recording artists in the world, earning RIAA production credits on more than 35 million albums sold worldwide. Wow. Ford's discography includes Michael Jackson, Jennifer Lopez, Mick Jagger, Vitez, Britney Spears, P. Diddy, Christina Aguilera, Rob Thomas, Jewel, Brandy, Ludacris, Twista, Fat Joe, Kiera, Missy Elliott, Craig David, The Sugar Hill Gang, Furious Five, Shine Down, Paul Oakenfold, and many others. Beyond music production, Ford has been named president to 3 record labels, Nebulous Atlantic in 2001, Peaceman Music 2007, and currently Monatomic Music. Yeah, that's where I'm. Monatomic Music, a conscious record label dedicated to transforming music into the healing modality for the betterment of mankind. How beautiful is that? Aside from a stellar career in the music industry, Ford is also an author of 2 books on consciousness and existential philosophy. Through extensive research, Ford has applied his esoteric wisdom to sacred geometry, frequency, and vibration to create an entirely new way to think about music. Now that is a badass, guys. I love it. Let's bring Ford on. And we are about to get an upload from Ford. What is up, Ford? You're muted. Just unmute.
I did that. There we go. How's that? Better?
Awesome, Ford.
First time using this
Welcome.
app, so bear with me here again. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. How's the sound? Is it distorted or anything?
No, the sound is wonderful. It's beautiful. You're coming
Okay.
through beautiful.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Ford, for taking your time to come to Humanity Unplugged and to give us a total upload on esoteric music and how we can use the music modality to heal ourselves. Because as we've learned, when we begin to heal ourselves, we automatically heal others as well, all throughout our genetic lines and across the world. So I truly, truly appreciate you taking your time to come here. Beautiful Starlight. Why don't you give us an upload? Tell us who you are, and then I'll jump in with questions. And guys, I want to see some questions in the comments from you guys. Just load it up. Let's hit
Challenge
forward with
me.
question
Challenge
after
me.
question. Remember what Brad Olson was saying this morning about sound frequencies and music and the frequency that music is transmitted on. So, let's hear some questions. So, Ford, I'm going to give you the stage and give us an upload.
Thank you very, very much. And shout out to Joan for having me on. This is all her doing. So thank you very much to Joan for having that happen. You pretty much covered my whole bio. I was gonna kind of get into the bio part, but it sounds to me like you've got that bio down. My whole life has been music, and it's pretty much the only thing I've known in my entire adult life. And as you can imagine, it leaves me with a lot of time to sit around and think about things and take nefarious amounts of or copious amounts of psychedelics. So that definitely changes your perspective on things. This awakening kind of started happening in me in around 2000, and it was so earth shattering. Everything in the world that I was dealing with, and at the time I was at the peak of my career, I was like, it all has to stop right now for a year, because I have to just take a year to just process what's happening here. So when it happened, I started to really fall into the space of the eternal dream of non-duality, and that's kind of where I've been living for the last 10 years or so, and it's been quite amazing. And since doing so, it's really started to affect my music. I started to really think about the mathematical implications of frequency and what that could do to the human body. And it turns out I'm not the only one thinking about this. There's a lot of people, a lot of very, very smart people thinking about this. So this is quite exciting. I'm going to riff here in a little bit, but before that, I get into the riffing part. And really kind of explain it to you in more of a layman's language. I first want to go through and give you a one-page science lesson, because this requires such. I'm sure for this audience, it's not a big deal to say that we're all made of vibration, right? But you tell the average scientist that, and they're going to balk at you. That's just, it's ridiculous to them. And I'm with you. I'm on the same page. Everything is made of vibration, but I want to get to the point of exactly scientifically what the counter theory is and why it's valid, because I'm a very, very first principles person. When I get into something, I have to understand it from the foundation up. I've always been that way. And I think it's important for the credibility of everything that I would like to say today, is to really lay that foundation down for you guys, and so that when you say that, oh, sound is healing, you can say it with absolute conviction, because you understand the scientific principle behind it. So this won't take long. It's going to feel like school for a second, but I'll do my best to try to make it as cool as I can. So is there a way for me to share some pictures here as I read here?
Yeah, go to share down below.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have your pictures open in the background, or are they?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to share the screen. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to share the screen. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Do you have the pictures open in the background?
I do.
Okay, so go to share.
Yeah.
And then share screen.
Okay.
And then you'll see 3 options up top. One is highlighted blue, says entire screen. to the right of it, window. You want to
Okay.
click window.
I'm on window.
Yeah, and there should be in the background there for you to choose.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I can't. It's not letting me see it really well there so much here. Share screen. Okay, well, let's see. That's not really working here. You said to do the window and then presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is I can't see it. It's too
Do you
small
have it
for me.
open in the background?
Yeah, I do. I do. Is that fine?
Yeah. Is it a PowerPoint presentation?
No, it's not. It's not a power. I didn't realize it had to
Do
be.
you have it on Chrome?
No, I have it on just a bunch of JPEGs and PNGs, unfortunately, in a folder. But it's okay. We can get through this without it, and I can do my best to describe some things here. Can you guys see any of that I'm showing?
It's not quite on the screen yet. I'll let you know as soon as it pops up.
Let's see here. Oh boy, this is bad here.
It's okay.
Let's see here. Let's see. I'm opening up the picture and it's not showing, huh? How about
no,
that
not
one?
yet. Just do.
Wait, sure. How about that?
There we go. We got something.
Got it? Okay. You guys know what that is, right? The yin yang?
Love it. We've been talking about this actually last few days.
This is the most important symbol, in my opinion, and Lao Tzu's opinion too. Of you cannot break everything down any more simply than this symbol. It transcends words and it explains the entire universe in a single symbol, which is really spectacular if you really, really think about it. It's showing you both the duality of everything. It's showing you the material world and it's showing you the emptiness of the void, and showing you that the balance is the only way to keep that together, and that without balance, it falls apart. And that's where we are right now. We're in a world of without balance, and it's all falling apart. And I think that what we're here to do is try to find that balance. And so what I want to say to you guys first is to say that before we can even get into the idea that life is a vibration, we have to first understand that we live in a magnetic universe. And that is such a contradiction to the way the material scientists see things, which is they see things as particles, right? And everything to them is a thing. It's got, if it's a particle, and then that's what existence is. And when you really break down quantum mechanics, we've got these particles that are popping in and out of existence. And what they're not really understanding is that what's happening is as the sine wave moves along, can you guys see the sine wave and then yin yang here? Can you guys see that?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so imagine the sine wave of what's going on here. Every time it hits a peak, a plus at the beginning of the plus, we recognize that as a particle, but when it dips down into the crest, it's in the void and it disappears from existence. And so scientists would call that spooky action at a distance. They can't really understand why particles pop in and out of existence. But when you can take a snap back from it and see that it's all just a wave, and what we're seeing are the crests, and understand that what we can't understand, the part that's in the void, is the trough of the wave. And that's why we're having the particles pop in and out of existence. So just quickly, I'm going to go through a couple of notes here that are going to sound really, really crazy, but they're going to make sense when I put it together here. So everything in the universe comes to us as a conjugate pair, right?